Chapter 1079. The paradise of God's residence was located in a mountain range. This mountain range had all kinds of environments, such as a small bridge, a red maple forest, a 3,000-foot waterfall, a boundless lake, and a mountain peak. Anyone could find their favorite living environment here. Yi Chen chose a bamboo house next to a small bridge. The bridge was an ancient stone bridge, and the water was a meandering river. Some aquatic plants were growing sparsely on the surface of the river, and a few fish were foraging under the plants. On the south side of the river was a picturesque bamboo house. The bamboo house was emerald green and emitted a sweet fragrance. Behind the bamboo house were tall and strong green bamboos. At first glance, one couldn't see into the depths of the bamboo forest. Clang! Yi Chen unsheathed the dragon's spring sword and slashed a sword mark on the hill to the north of the river. The sword mark was 3 zhang deep, and a terrifying sword intent spread out, lingering for a long time. It was a long journey from the mountain range to the center of the paradise of God. Although the gravity in the paradise of God was not as strong as that in the divine star, it was still 1/10 as strong. It was very difficult to fly there. There was a floating track in the center of the mountain range. Every day, 3 chariots of God would pass by this track, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening. The chariots of God were like sightseeing trains. There were 500 seats on them, no more, no less. They moved very fast, and didn't need much power. Once the time was up, the chariots of God would start automatically. Yi Chen and the others got on the chariots of God at noon. Soon, the 11 of them arrived at the gate of the center of the paradise of God. Are these the newcomers? HM? There are 11 of them. There was a group of people standing at the gate. Even the weakest among them had a horrifying aura, as if they were wild beasts. Right then, they were looking at Yi Chen and the others as if they were little kids. I'm afraid this gate is not easy to enter, Lu Wenxiu said. They're just a group of people at the bottom. Ajio's expression didn't change. The 11 of them stopped at the gate. Congratulations on coming to the paradise of God. The one who spoke was a young man with a tall and sturdy body, as tall as Yang Tingyu. What's the matter? Xiao Xiu said coldly. According to the rules of the paradise of gods, newcomers have to accept the seniors' challenge. We were unlucky and drew the red lot. There was an unwritten rule in the paradise of God. Newcomers had to accept challenges from their seniors. This wasn't to bully newcomers, but rather to let newcomers know that they were no longer the all-powerful geniuses here. They were just normal people, and everything that happened outside had nothing to do with them. Then let's begin. Through various channels, everyone knew that there was such an unwritten rule in the paradise of gods, so they were not surprised. The one who spoke was Zhou Jian. The burly young man smiled. It was obvious that the other side knew about this rule and was already mentally prepared for it. However, knowing was one thing, but not many of them were actually aware of it. Everyone thought that they were peerless geniuses, and that they might be able to defeat the seniors from the paradise of gods. This was the purpose of the rule. It was to use absolute power to crush their arrogance and wake them up. Follow us. The burly young man and the others led the way. Soon, everyone arrived at a battle arena that looked like a Roman Colosseum. Turning around, the burly young man said, "Rules are dead, but people are alive. We can't work for nothing. How about this? The loser will give the winner 100,000 yuan stones. Of course, don't get me wrong, we haven't fallen to the level of scamming newcomers for yuan stones. You can give it or not, it's all up to you." "I will give it to you." Zhou Jian walked onto the battle arena. "All right, I will be your opponent." A figure flew into the battle arena. It was a skinny young man. "I am Wan Donglei." The skinny young man introduced himself. "Zhou Jian." Zhou Jian made the first move. He entered the selfless body state right away and performed a killer move, the meteor fist. Countless fist shadows were thrown at his opponent. Too slow. Wan Donglei turned into a shadow and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was right in front of Zhou Jian and kicked him in the chest. Puff! Blood spurted out of Zhou Jian's mouth as he was sent flying. How is this possible? Including Yi Chen, everyone was shocked. His opponent did not use his absolute battling power to blow Zhou Jian away. Instead, he had seen through the flaws of Zhou Jian's meteor exploding fist art, and then appeared in front of Zhou Jian at a shocking speed. Be it speed, power, or eyesight, they are all a couple of times better than Zhou Jian. Yi Chen thought to himself. After being kicked by Wan Donglei, Zhou Jian struggled to get up and threw out another punch. This time, it was the meteor fist. Do you think there's still a need to fight? Wan Donglei's kick had shattered the fist power of the meteor fist, and said lightly. Here. Zhou Jian's face turned green. He took out 10 boxes of yuan stones from his storage ring and threw them on the ground. Then, he turned around and walked to the audience seating. I am Liao Qing. Who wants to challenge me? Another person appeared. His eyes scanned through Yi Chen and the rest. I will challenge you. Xiao Xiu got off the stage. A sword artist. Not bad, sword artists have better eyesight than warriors at the same level. Liao Qing nodded slightly, looking relaxed. Take this. Taking out the Azure Dragon sword, Xiao Xiu threw out a sword attack toward her opponent. It was just a normal sword attack. When one was not clear about the opponent's actual strength, using a killing attack would result in the same situation as Zhou Jian. Ding! Liao Qing took out his dagger and blocked Xiao Xiu's sword attack. Swoosh! At the same time, Liao Qing also held a dagger in his left hand and threw it out like lightning. Xiao Xiu could not react in time, and a piece of flesh was cut off from his face. Ding! Dang! Subsequently, Liao Qing attacked Xiao Xiu from both sides with his daggers, and his attacks were like a torrential storm. Xiao Xiu only persisted for 5 or 6 rounds before her throat was slit by Liao Qing's dagger, causing blood to splatter out. Thank you for letting me win. Liao Qing stopped attacking. Xiao Xiu looked at his opponent in a daze. Then, he took out 10 boxes of yuan stones and put them on the ground. After Zhou Jian and Xiao Xiu, Lu Wenxiu, Yan Feihua, Li Yifeng, Gu Qingxue, Xia Shaoshan, and Yang Ting were defeated one after another. Finally, only Yi Chen, Jiu, and Ling Fifan had not fought yet. Let me. Ling Fifan was the first to fight. I'm Yang Zhan. Coincidentally, I'm also a saber user. Yang Zhan appeared in front of Ling Fifan with a long saber on his back. This Ling Fifan doesn't look like an ordinary person. All of us here have the power of the 3rd level of the God of War Pagoda. It's already good enough that the newcomers can make it to the 2nd level. There were 10 levels in the God of War Pagoda, representing 10 different levels of combat power. Most of the newcomers had the power of the 1st level. Of course, it wouldn't take long for them to make it to the 2nd level, and it was already good enough that they had the power of the 2nd level. Among Zhou Jian's group of 8, Yan Feihua, Lu Wenxiu, Xiao Xiu, Li Yifeng, Gu Qingxue, and Zhou Jian had the power of the 1st level, while Xia Shaoshan and Yang Ting had the power of the 2nd level. Clang, 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 sparks flew as the 2 sabers clashed. Yang Zhan was surprised to find that he couldn't take down his opponent in a short time. There were a few times when he thought he had seen through his opponent's flaws, but his opponent had purposely exposed them. This is more interesting. A smile appeared on Yang Zhan's face, and his saber attacks became fiercer and more cunning. The saber is the overlord. Even if it's a dead end, I will still fight for a way out. Ling Fifan was obviously at a disadvantage, but judging from his aura, he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. Instead, he was suppressing his opponent. If not for his aura, Ling Fifan would have been defeated long ago. A well-trained saber user. His achievements in the future will be immeasurable. The burly young man was a little envious. Strength is strength. Lose. Yang Zhan sent Ling Fifan's blade of time flying with one slash and severed his head. But a shocking scene happened. Ling Fifan, who had lost his head and the blade of time, slashed at Yang Zhan with an illusory saber in his hands. Both of Yang Zhan's arms were severed at the elbows. It was a draw. Impressive. He has the power of the third level of the God of War pagoda as soon as he came in, and it was a draw with Yang Zhan. Yes, although Yang Zhan was a little careless, his power is enough to enter the third level of the God of War pagoda. There were strong and weak people on the third floor. The strong ones were just a step away from entering the fourth floor, while the weak ones would probably fail the moment they entered the third floor. Me, Lu Hu will go first. The burly young man smiled and said to Audiobook and Yi Chen, I'll go first. Audiobook jumped into the arena. Be careful. Although I didn't enter the fourth level, I'm only one step away, Lu Hu reminded him. Don't worry, I won't be careless. Audiobook knew that these people were the weakest in the paradise of gods, but it didn't mean he could ignore them. Ling Fifan was only a little weaker than him, but he was still at a disadvantage. It was enough to prove these people's power. If Yang Zhan and Ling Fifan's battle was already shocking enough, then Audiobook and Lu Hu's battle was even more shocking. Lu Hu was the strongest among them, and he was only one step away from the fourth level of the God of War pagoda, but Audiobook could fight Lu Hu to a draw. He's really not easy to deal with. Lu Hu frowned slightly. It wasn't that his opponent didn't have any flaws, but he couldn't take advantage of them because there were 4 of them. If he fought against one of them, he would be attacked by the other 3. Unless he could defeat all 4 of them at once, but that was impossible. With his strength, he couldn't do that. Looks like I have to use this move. Lu Hu's body flashed. Every time he flashed, a dozen more Lu Hu would appear. After dozens of flashes, there were hundreds of Lu Hus, and every one of them was vivid and lifelike. Profound meaning of shadow. No, it's the profound meaning of Yin, which is even more profound than the profound meaning of shadow. Yi Chen immediately saw through the meaning of Lu Hu's move. The profound meaning of Yin included the profound meaning of shadow. There was yin and yang in the universe, and so did humans. These Lu Hu could be said to be real to a certain extent. They were like the other side of Lu Hu, so it was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake with just eyesight. Unless one had a special talent or had also cultivated the profound meaning of Yin. Of course, there must be other ways to tell. Nothing was absolute in this world. It could be seen that Lu Hu's profound meaning of Yin had not been perfected. There were some flaws, but there were too many of them. Trying to find the real one was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Audiobook only lasted for a while before he was defeated. Chapter 1080. This Audiobook is amazing. No wonder he's called King Peerless. They had all heard of Audiobook's name, and Audiobook and the others also knew about them. For example, Lu Hu was from the White Tiger Starfield's Tiger Soul planet. He was ranked 8th on the Heavenly King list, but it was obvious that he hadn't improved as much as Audiobook in the past decade. 10 years ago, Audiobook hadn't become famous yet, so he naturally wouldn't be Lu Hu's match. 10 years later, Audiobook was only slightly weaker than Lu Hu. But from another perspective, those at the bottom of the paradise of gods weren't doing so well. Because they lacked divine coins, their improvement wasn't much faster than those outside. Unless they could reach the 5th level of the God of War pagoda or the 4th level of the Survival Tower, they wouldn't be able to get more divine coins. I'm so jealous of you. You're already at the peak of the 3rd level of the God of War pagoda. It won't be long before you can reach the 4th or even the 5th level. As for me, I'll probably need another 10 years to reach the 5th level. Do you know? In the past 10 years, except for the first time, I've never left the paradise of gods. It's not that I don't want to go back, but I don't have enough divine coins to pay for it. Lu Hu sighed. Then I'll just make it to the 5th level, Audiobook said. Lu Hu was stunned for a moment, and then whispered to himself, You're right. They didn't know when, but they had developed a dependence on Shinbi. Without Shinbi, they felt like they had lost their will to fight. Little did they know that the reason they were able to enter the paradise of gods wasn't because of Shunbi, but because of their ambition. Alright, I've lost to you. But given your strength, I'm afraid you're no match for him. Audiobook threw down 10 boxes of yuan stones and walked back to the audience. No match for him? Lu Hu looked at Yi Chen in confusion. They only had 10 people on their side, while Audiobook had 11. Therefore, he had to fight twice. But Audio's words had alarmed him. After Audiobook had lost to Lu Hu, Yi Chen had become everyone's focus. Yi Chen's amazing sword skills had won over Audiobook and the others. Now it was their turn. Step by step, Yi Chen walked to the arena and unsheathed the dragon spring sword. Take this. Chi. A wisp of blood danced in the air as a thin sword mark appeared on Lu Hu's cheek. As for himself, he explosively retreated. If he hadn't dodged fast enough, this sword might have pierced through his forehead. What a fast sword! Not only were Lu Hu and the others shocked, but Audiobook, Ling Fifan, Yang Ting, and the others were also shocked. Little did they know that Yi Chen had used the profound truths of speed in this attack, and the sword in his hand had become the Heavenly King's stage treasure sword, the Dragon Spring Sword. With the two combined, his sword's speed had reached a terrifying level. What kind of freak is this? Lu Hu couldn't be more astonished. In the 10 years he had spent in the paradise of gods, due to the limited amount of Shinbi, he had only entered the Upanishad Tower a few times. However, he had often played Thunderball with others. Thunderball was a very strange cultivation method. By hitting the ball quickly, it could train one's reaction speed, attack speed, and force exertion skills. Compared to 10 years ago, Lu Hu's inner qualities had improved a lot. His ability to see through flaws was also extraordinary. Wan Dong and Lei Liaoqing had easily defeated Zhou Jian and Xiao Xiu. Lu Hu was even stronger than the previous two. However, that sword attack of Yi Chen's was terrifying in both speed and trajectory. He didn't even have time to react, let alone block it. Without any hesitation, Lu Hu used the shadow doppelgangers that had defeated Audiobook. The shadow doppelgangers had the profound truths of Yin. Not only did they have the same aura as the real body, but they also couldn't be underestimated. Each doppelganger had 20% of the real body's power. Several hundred shadow doppelgangers stood between Yi Chen and Lu Hu, giving Lu Hu time to counterattack. Momentary glory! Facing hundreds of shadow doppelgangers, Yi Chen only used one sword attack. This sword attack froze the space, and all the shadow doppelgangers froze. The Zhen Yuan contained in their bodies wasn't enough to resist the power of momentary glory. Although Lu Hu himself was extremely powerful, he felt like he was stuck in a swamp. Every move he made was extremely difficult. Passing through hundreds of shadow doppelgangers, Yi Chen suddenly appeared 10 meters in front of Lu Hu. Too scary. Is he still a newbie? Lu Hu's Zhen Yuan burst out, turning into a fierce tiger phantom. This tiger phantom shook its head and tail, looking extremely fierce. Under the impact of the tiger phantom, the power of momentary glory weakened a lot. Lu Hu took this opportunity to counter Yi Chen's momentary glory with a punch. Fierce tiger fist art. Clang. Sparks exploded as Yi Chen's dragon spring sword stabbed into Lu Hu's fist. The sword's blade bent, but the bones in Lu Hu's right arm were also broken inch by inch. Blood splashed out. The dragon's spring sword straightened, and Yi Chen used the momentum to jump into the sky, sweeping down with his sword. Poochie! Lu Hu's head flew high into the sky. Yi Chen won. Among all the young sword artists in history, he is at least in the top 10, maybe even the top 5. Yan Feihua sighed. The universe had existed for countless years, and nobody knew how many years Yi Chen had been in the top 10. One could imagine how high Yan Feihua's evaluation of Yi Chen was, and how shocked she was. God of War Pagoda's 4th floor strength. Lu Hu, who had reattached his head with his undying body, looked at Yi Chen, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had just entered the God of Paradise, and he already had the strength of God of War Pagoda's 4th floor. Thank you for letting me win. Putting away the dragon's spring sword, Yi Chen cupped his fists. Here are your 100,000 yuan stones. Lu Hu took out 10 boxes of yuan stones and put them on the ground. Yi Chen didn't refuse and put them away. After a while, he was preparing to break through to the 4th sky of life and death realm. At that time, he would need a lot of yuan stones, so it was better to be prepared. What a monster! Luckily, my opponent is not him. Otherwise, I would have been so embarrassed. Wan Dong, Lei Liaoqing, and the rest were speechless. Even Lu Hu, the strongest among them, had lost. They would be trash if they went up. They were all newbies, but why was the gap between them so big? Only Ling Fifan and Ajio were slightly more eye-catching. Lu Hu, why are you so useless? You lost to a newbie. A voice was heard. Everyone looked over and saw a few figures at the entrance of the arena. The one who spoke was a strong young man. Tai He. I lost to him wholeheartedly. How am I useless? Lu Hu said with a frown. A loss is a loss. No need to find excuses. The bulky young man walked down step by step, his eyes landing on Yi Chen. Lu Hu didn't want to argue with him, so he said to Yi Chen, "Be careful, Tai He has already reached the 4th floor." Yi Chen nodded and looked at Tai He. Please. Since he had appeared, he must have bad intentions. Oh, you took the initiative to challenge me. Alright, I'll give you a chance. Tai He had originally planned to teach Yi Chen a lesson, lest he broke the rules. However, he didn't expect Yi Chen to take the initiative to challenge him. Tai He, don't be careless. The others said to Tai He. I know what I'm doing. Tai He naturally didn't dare to be careless. Since Yi Chen could defeat Lu Hu, he most likely had the power of the 4th floor. Although there were strong and weak people on the 4th floor, he couldn't be careless. Make your move. Tai He's weapon was a crescent halberd. It was more than 3 meters long and looked very sharp. Just as he finished his sentence, Yi Chen's attack had arrived. It was still the fast profound. That moment of glory could only release its power within 3,000 meters. Beyond that, the effect would be almost negligible. It was also the reason why he had approached Lu Hu from the beginning, and it was the same now. Ding! Tai He's battle power was indeed not something Lu Hu could compare with. He lifted the crescent halberd slightly and blocked Yi Chen's sharp sword. Pretty fast. His feet exerted force. Tai He used the sword's power to back off. He realized that it was better to keep some distance from Yi Chen. Otherwise, his crescent halberd wouldn't be able to unleash its power at all. However, in the next moment, he realized that his speed had slowed down. Yi Chen's second sword attack came right after. This sword attack made the space freeze. It was the profound meaning of space. No wonder Lu Hu lost. Tai He didn't see the battle between Yi Chen and Lu Hu. He only came in after their battle ended. But, don't underestimate me. An Atar realm. Tai He's an Atar realm was the same as Ling Fifan's. He had already touched the 3rd level. Moreover, he was at the peak of the 5th sky of life and death realm, which was 1 sky higher than Ling Fifan. As Tai He's battle power went all out, a majestic power burst out. The space freeze power was immediately repelled. Cold moon cutting the sky. After repelling the space freeze power, Tai He attacked Yi Chen with his halberd. This was his ace attack. A green crescent moon appeared in the void, attacking rapidly. Boom! The sword and the halberd clashed, and Yi Chen backed out dozens of miles. A faint green light lingered around his body, looking extremely sharp. Fortunately, his protective sword intent was powerful enough, so he didn't get hurt at all. Tai He, Lu Hu had said earlier that the loser would have to give the winner 100,000 yuan stones. I wonder if you agree or not. If the opponent didn't agree, Yi Chen didn't plan to continue the battle. He would just admit defeat. Don't tell me you think I will lose to you? Tai He opened his eyes wide. Nothing is absolute in this world. How would you know if you don't try? Yi Chen laughed. All right, 100,000 yuan stones is nothing in my eyes. I would like to see how you can beat me. Tai He was angered by Yi Chen, and his aura increased again. In front of him, Yi Chen took a deep breath. 3 flowers appeared on his head, 1 red, 1 yellow and 1 blue. 3-flower Dao. It was the 3-flower Dao that Yuan Emperor had taught to Yi Chen. After several years of cultivation, Yi Chen had already cultivated the 3-flower Dao to the same level as Yuan Emperor. Once he used it, his spirit, qi, and spirit would multiply, and his battle power would multiply as well. The same momentary glory was performed by Yi Chen again. Not good. The space freeze power has doubled. Tai He felt like he was carrying a huge, ancient mountain on his back. Every movement he made was extremely strenuous. Even his bones were groaning, and the Zhen Yuan circulation in his body had slowed down. Puff! Yi Chen's sword was ruthless as it pierced through Tai He's forehead. Chapter 1081. Everyone stared at Yi Chen, including those who came with Tai He. In their eyes, Yi Chen was like the center of the world, giving them immense pressure. And the dragon spring sword in his hand was like the Grim Reaper's weapon. It was an inanimate object, but it made their hearts tremble. I lost. The sword wound on his forehead slowly healed. Tai He looked at Yi Chen in shock. If that sword attack had been fully unleashed, even if he did not die, he would have been severely injured. If it came again, he would definitely die. Of course, this was the paradise of God. Even if he died, he could be revived. He was not worried about that. Thank you. Yi Chen cupped his fist. A loss is a loss. Here are 100,000 yuan stones. Tai He threw down 10 boxes of yuan stones. Then, he said, with your talent, I'm afraid you will soon reach the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda and qualify to enter the hunting tower. By then, there will be many teams inviting you to join. Let me remind you, when choosing a team, you must be careful. If you are not careful, you will die. My good friend died in the hunting battlefield because of his carelessness in choosing a team. His team was completely annihilated. The Paradise of Gods originally had 500 people, but now there are only 380 people. Just know how dangerous it is. With that, Tai He and his friends left. Thank you for the reminder. Yi Chen glanced at his back as he left. What Tai He said is right. We must be extremely cautious in choosing a team. In the battlefield of hunting, everyone is both a hunter and a prey. The stronger the team we choose, the more reasonable the composition of the members, the greater the chance of survival. In these 10 years, I have also lost a few friends in the battlefield of hunting. Lu Hu sighed. I will think about it. Not to mention that Yi Chen did not have the power to reach the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda. Even if he did, he would not do it. He wanted to use Shinbi to increase his power first, and then see if he could reach the 4th level of the life and death realm in a short period of time. When everything was ready, he would try to reach the 5th level and qualify to enter the hunting tower. Then we will leave first. Lu Hu and the others bid farewell. In the center of the Paradise of Gods, there were 2 majestic towers. One was the God of War Pagoda, and the other was the Survival Pagoda. The God of War Pagoda was 10,000 meters tall, and each level was 1,000 meters tall. Of course, this was only from the outside. There was definitely something more to it. How unlucky. I didn't pass through the 4th level again. My yin-yang true dragon energy has already been cultivated to the great success level. Logically speaking, I should be able to pass through it. I was just a little bit away last time. 2 young men walked out from the entrance of the 1st level of the God of War Pagoda. Me too. At the critical moment, the opponent's strength suddenly erupted. There's no way to block it. The other young man was also quite helpless. These 11 people seem to be newcomers. I don't recognize them. They must be here to challenge the God of War Pagoda. I wonder which level they can reach? I reckon that most of them are on the first level. There won't be more than 3 on the second level. This has always been the case. The 2 of them had originally planned to leave, but after some thought, they decided to stay. They wanted to see how strong this batch of newcomers were. Anyway, challenging the God of War pagoda would not take much time, especially for newcomers. Good luck. Yi Chen was the first to enter the God of War pagoda's entrance. Good luck, everyone. The other 10 also entered the God of War pagoda. This was a fiery land of lava. Scarlet flames erupted everywhere, and the sky was dark red. From time to time, purplish-red lightning danced in the sky. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Standing in the air, Yi Chen scanned the area, searching for his opponent. Rumble! Abruptly, the ground beneath Yi Chen split open. A scarlet hand the size of a mountain grabbed at Yi Chen, accompanied by a towering wave of fire. Lava giant! Yi Chen immediately knew what kind of creature his opponent was. The lava giant was a natural life form with both fire and earth attribute. It was born with boundless strength and had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Even Yi Chen would vomit blood if he was grabbed by the lava giant. Of course, it was fine as long as he was not grabbed. The lava giant's only weakness was the lava heart in its chest. It was a relatively fragile crystal. As long as one had the annihilation crystal, they would be able to kill the lava giant. However, the lava giant was not only extremely huge, but its defense was also very high. Ordinary monarchs could only break the surface of the lava at most. It was extremely difficult to kill it. Unfortunately, its opponent was Yi Chen. Facing this scorching lava hand, Yi Chen unsheathed his dragon spring sword and slashed down. The sword light blurred and vibrated countless times in an instant. Without a sound, the lava hand and the lava arm were split into 2. Then, the lava land was also split, revealing the lava giant's corpse. Its lava heart had already been destroyed by Yi Chen's sword light. You have passed the first level. Reward, 10 Shinbi. A voice came down from the sky. Buzz. The paradise badge flashed, and a light screen appeared in front of Yi Chen. The light screen showed that he had 39 Shinbi. 10 Shinbi for the first level. Not bad. Many a little makes a mickle. The first level already had 10 Shinbi. The second level would probably not be any less. After all, there were only 10 levels in the entire God of War pagoda. 5 people walked out from the entrance of the first level of the God of War pagoda. They were Yan Feihua, Lu Wenxiu, Xiao Xiu, Li Yifeng, and Gu Qingxiu. Lu Wenxiu shook her head and sighed. The lava giant's defense is too high. We can't even attack its lava heart. I didn't expect the first level to be so difficult. I thought we could make it to the second level. Yan Feihua was a little disappointed. We are the weaklings here, so we have to work even harder. Yan Feihua was not the only one who was disappointed. Xiao Xiu and the rest were also very disappointed. They had just arrived at the Paradise of Gods, but they had already lost to Lu Hu and the rest. Now, they could not even pass the first level of the God of War pagoda. Although they did not seem to care about fame, as long as they were human, they would have weaknesses. It was just that they did not have the opportunity to expose these weaknesses usually. Let's keep it up. I wonder how many levels they can reach. Li Yifeng was very calm. As an illusionist, combat was not their strength. It was normal that they could not pass the first level. Zhou Jian's attack is very strong. He should be able to reach the second level. Xia Xiaoshan and Yang Ting should be able to reach it too. Gu Qingxiu speculated. 5 failed the first level, and the other 5 will most likely enter the second level. The quality of this batch of newcomers is not bad. The ratio is higher than usual. The 2 young people who came out earlier discussed in low voices. After a while, Zhou Jian came out. Zhou Jian, which level? Lu Wenxiu asked. The second level. Congratulations! I was just lucky. Zhou Jian was expressionless. The first level focused on attack, so although he was not as strong as Gu Qingxue, he could pass the first level and reach the second level. Soon, Xia Shaoshan and Yang Ting also came out. Like Zhou Jian, both of them failed on the second level, but they lasted longer than Zhou Jian. No way. There are 3 more who can reach the third level? After half a cup of tea's time, the 2 young men standing not far away looked at each other. After a while, Ling Fifan came out, followed by Aujio. As everyone had expected, the 2 of them reached the third level. How much is the reward for the second level? Xia Shaoshan asked. Reaching the third level did not mean that they had passed the third level. It only meant that they had passed the second level. 30. Ling Fifan replied. That's a lot. The first level only gave 10, and the second level gave 30. Xia Shaoshan pouted. Don't be greedy. We didn't get a single Shinbi. Looks like we can only pin our hopes on the survival tower. Let's hope we can pass the first level. Yan Feihua gritted her teeth. I advise you to be more pessimistic. The survival tower is even harder than the God of War tower. Only by reaching the 5th level can you upgrade your Paradise badge to a beginner badge. But as long as you reach the 4th level, you will be able to upgrade it. You should know the reason. One of the 2 young people could not help but say, How hard is the first level of the survival tower? Lu Wenxiu frowned. It is almost the same as the second level, but the reward is much higher. The first level has 30 Shinbi, and the second level has 60 Shinbi. Through the conversation, everyone came to know these 2's names. One was Lin Chun and the other was Cui Yi. The 2 had been in the God Paradise for 20 years, but they were still stuck in the 4th floor of the tower. The cultivation of martial artists would become more and more difficult the further one went. One would not be able to advance by leaps and bounds like before. Otherwise, life and death kings would have a lifespan of 100,000 years, and they would be invincible in 100 or 200 years. After chatting for a while, Lin Chun suddenly said, Oh right, what is the name of your partner who has not come out yet? Yi Chen. Lu Wenxiu said. Yi Chen. What a good name. I believe it won't be long before he becomes the most popular person in the God Paradise. He will be the target of all the beginner teams. You guys have to remind him to be careful when choosing teams. Cui Yi said. Yeah. Lu Wenxiu and the rest nodded. They realized that the members of the God Paradise were not bad. Although Lu Hu and the rest had taught them a lesson, it was the rule, and they did not humiliate them. Tai He, who came later, was also not that hateful. He even said the same words as Cui Yi. Of course, there were all kinds of birds in a big forest. They would probably run into some friendly ones. Another 10 minutes passed, and Yi Chen came out. Yi Chen, you reached the 4th level? Lu Wenxiu was a bit uncertain. Yeah, the 4th level was very hard. I can't believe it was a 6th layer life and death realm demon king. There were 9 layers of life and death realm, and there was a gap between the 6th and 7th layers. At present, he could only contend with ordinary 6th layer life and death realm demon kings. But, if he encountered a powerful one, he would not be able to fight. After all, cultivation was one thing, and battle power was another. The latter included the former, and the former was only a part of the latter. Yi Chen, I am Lin Chun, and this is my friend Cui Yi. Nice to meet you. A super newbie like Yi Chen, who would not want to get to know him. Perhaps they would have the chance to fight side by side in the future. Nice to meet you guys as well. Come, let's go to the survival tower. Lin Chun suggested. Just like that, the group walked toward the survival tower. Chapter 1082. The difficulty of the survival tower is not comparable to the battle god tower. Although I made it to the 4th floor, I only made it to the 3rd floor, and it was very difficult. Of course, there are some powerful warriors with similar battle power and survival ability, but they are too rare. In the God Paradise, only 1 out of 100 people can make it. Lin Chun explained the difficulty of the survival tower to Yi Chen and the rest. Soon, the 13 of them arrived at the entrance of the survival tower and entered. The first floor of the survival tower was a vast jungle, filled with poisonous miasma and countless poisonous creatures. Life and death realm warriors would not feel anything at first, but as time went on, they would gradually feel uncomfortable, and their battle power would be greatly reduced. The longer they stayed in there, the more they would be affected. If they wanted to pass the first floor, they would have to go through the whole jungle as fast as possible. The first to be eliminated was Li Yifeng. He was an illusion master, and his survival ability was both strong and weak. It all depended on how one looked at it. Obviously, Li Yifeng was not good at surviving in such a harsh environment. The second to be eliminated was Yan Feihua. The third was Lu Wenxiu. The fourth was Xiao Xiu. The fifth was Zhou Jian. The sixth was Gu Qingxue. Gu Qingxue had already passed through most of the jungle, but there were simply too many poisonous creatures here. These poisonous creatures came in all shapes and sizes. Some could corrode true essence, and some could turn into tiny particles that could penetrate one's protective true essence. There were also some that dominated in numbers, with millions and millions of them surrounding her, making it difficult for her to even take a step forward. Not long after Gu Qingxue came out, Xia Shaoshan and Yang Ting came out as well. The natural environment of the second floor was not that bad, but compared to the first floor, it was several times more dangerous. Once you entered the second floor, you would be in a prison, guarded by demons and evil spirit race demon kings. What you had to do was to follow the prison map provided by the Paradise's badge and escape from this prison. During this time, you would have to fight head-on, sneak attacks, and other strategies. Therefore, it was not enough to just be powerful. You had to have a calm mind and the ability to adapt to situations. Otherwise, if you only relied on your power, you would not be able to pass the second floor unless you could reach the fifth floor. Clang! Cutting down the prison wall, Ling Fifan was about to rush out, but he stopped himself. Outside the prison walls were dozens of evil kings and demon kings. With his strength, it was impossible for him to fight his way out. However, Ling Fifan did not look depressed or dispirited. Instead, a hint of passion flashed across his face. Compared to his previous life, the paradise of God had brought him more passion and fighting spirit. The more difficult it was, the happier he was. Ling Fifan didn't pass through the second level, but Audiobook did. It was relatively easy for him because his martial arts phantom allowed him to have 3 doppelgangers with powerful battle strength. Relying on these 3 doppelgangers, Audiobook didn't have to expend much effort to escape from this prison filled with traps and devil kings and evil kings. Interesting, this is too interesting. I've long heard that more than 100 life stars in the Black Tortoise starfield have been invaded by the demons and other powerful races. There's a king's prison there, used to imprison the king's prison. It seems this survival tower's second floor is an imitation of the king's prison. Second floor passed. Reward, 60 Shinbi. Yi Chen had also passed the second floor of the survival tower. The second floor might be difficult for others, but to him it was like his backyard. He could leave and stay as he pleased. This wasn't because his strength had reached the 5th floor of the God of War pagoda, but mainly because his ability to freeze space was too powerful. Just releasing his sword aura was enough to freeze them. He didn't even need to use the instant sword domain, let alone the instant brilliance. When he reached the 3rd floor, Yi Chen was stunned. The 3rd floor was actually a white dwarf star. On the white dwarf star, there were also demon kings and evil kings. Other than them, there was another evil race, the Yaksha king of the Yaksha race. On the other side of the white dwarf star, there was a platform. As long as one stood on the platform, he would pass the 3rd floor. There weren't many enemies on the white dwarf star, only about 30 of them. But judging from their aura, they were all extremely powerful. Almost none of them were weaker than the Black Destruction King, Zhou Jian. There were 7 or 8 of them who were stronger than Zhou Jian. They had reached the level of Xia Shaoshan or Yang Ting, and the strongest one was no weaker than Ling Fifan. There was a demon king and a yaksha king respectively. If he was surrounded by 30 enemies, even Yi Chen wouldn't dare to say that he could pass. Of course, Yi Chen didn't intend to pass the 3rd floor. Passing the 3rd floor and reaching the 4th floor meant that his Paradise badge would be upgraded to a basic badge. Within 3 months, he had to enter the hunting tower to hunt. He didn't want to be in such a hurry. After all, he was still a little weak now, and the chances of him dying in the hunting tower were very high. On the white dwarf star, the strong gravity made it impossible for Yi Chen to fly. He could only run on foot. Sometimes he would run in a straight line, sometimes he would take a roundabout route, and sometimes he would run in circles. He tried his best not to let the enemies gather together and split them up. Just like that, Yi Chen killed one enemy after another, until there was only a demon king and a yaksha king left. The yaksha king's skin was stone gray, and he had a pair of wings on his back. In terms of top combat power, the yaksha race might not be as strong as the demons, but in terms of average combat power, the yaksha race surpassed the demons. It was said that there were no weaklings among the demons, but all the yaksha race were strong. In the universe, the yaksha race was definitely one of the strongest races. Of course, the demons were the strongest race. So strong. After Audiobook killed 7 enemies, he was finally surrounded. He only lasted 1 round before he was blasted into pieces by countless light beams and teleported out of the survival tower. You made it to the 3rd floor? Lin Chun came out with Audiobook. He was very surprised. One had to know that Audiobook's result in the God of War Pagoda was the 3rd floor, and now he was also at the 3rd floor of the survival tower. Didn't this mean that Audiobook's combat power and survival power were equal? Strong people with equal combat power and survival power were 1 in 100 in the Paradise of God. He didn't expect Audiobook to be one of them. Not bad. Audiobook was not proud. Impressive. I have a feeling that a few of your batch of rookies might become famous people in the Paradise of Gods in the future. Lin Chun was very emotional. No matter which batch it was, Audiobook was the most outstanding one. That Ling Fifan was also very strong. As for that Yi Chen, he was inhuman. Cui Yi's survival power was much stronger than Lin Chun's. He came out after a long while. In the end, only Yi Chen was left. Hey Cui Yi, do you think Yi Chen can pass the 3rd floor? Lin Chun asked. It's a little difficult, but I don't know why, but I feel that his survival power is stronger than his combat power. However, if I were him, I would not choose to pass the 3rd floor even if my survival power is strong. After all, it's too early to enter the hunting tower now. It's not wise, Cui Yi said in a low voice. That's true. Lin Chun nodded. Just like that, the 12 people waited for Yi Chen outside. After about 5 minutes, Yi Chen came out. Facing everyone's questions, Yi Chen said, I didn't pass the 3rd floor. Actually, he could have passed. As he had never seen the Yaksha King before, Yi Chen had a good fight with him. After killing the Yaksha King, a demon king could not stop him at all. However, he did not want to pass the 3rd floor and be killed by a demon king. A total of 219 shinbi. I should be able to use them for a while. After everyone separated, Yi Chen activated his badge. It showed that he had 219 shinbi. Before coming to the Paradise of Gods, Yi Chen had 29 shinbi. The 1st floor of the God of War Pagoda had given him 10 shinbi, 30 shinbi, and 60 shinbi. The 1st floor of the Survival Pagoda had given him 30 shinbi, and the 2nd floor had given him 60 shinbi. In total, he had 219 shinbi. Let's go to the Earth Upanishad Tower first. Among all the ultimacies that Yi Chen had comprehended, his metal, water, and fire ultimacies were all completed. The metal and water ultimacies were autumn water, the water and fire ultimacies were merciless water and fire, and the metal and earth ultimacies were sky extinction sword. Yi Chen planned to complete the earth ultimacy first. After all, the sky extinction swords were just below moment of glory and merciless water and fire. It was already very powerful before it was completed. Once it was completed, even if its power was not as strong as merciless water and fire, it would still be very sharp. In terms of breaking through defenses, the sky extinction swords with its extreme vibration power was even stronger than merciless water and fire. There were many Upanishad towers in the paradise of God. Yi Chen found the earth Upanishad tower and entered it. The Upanishad tower would deduct Shinbi every day until you used up all your Shinbi. Yi Chen had enough Shinbi to last for 21 days. He did not know if it was enough, but he had to try. What a fast speed of comprehension! But soon Yi Chen realized that he was wrong. The speed of comprehension in the Upanishad tower was shockingly fast. 1 day in the Upanishad tower was equivalent to 100 days in the outside world. Although the closer one was to completion, the harder it was to comprehend. It was obvious that it was easier to comprehend it to completion in the Upanishad tower. Besides Yi Chen, the others did not choose to enter the Upanishad tower to comprehend their profoundness. Instead, they entered the martial technique tower. As the name suggested, the martial technique tower was used to practice martial technique. The fee was not high either. The first level only cost 1 Shinbi a day. Among the 10 of them, the lowest had more than 10 Shinbi. Audiobook had as many as 158 Shinbi. They wanted to improve their martial techniques in the shortest time possible and then continue to challenge the god of war pagoda to earn more Shinbi. This was a virtuous cycle. While Yi Chen and the others were focused on cultivating, the Paradise of Gods was abuzz with news about this year's batch of newcomers. What? That's impossible, right? This year's batch of newcomers has reached the 4th level of the God of War Pagoda, and 2 of them are equivalent to the 3rd level. Why would I lie to you? The newcomer who has reached the 4th level of the God of War Pagoda is called Yi Chen. Lu Hu and Tai he both lost to him. The other 2 are called Audiobook and Ling Fifan. They are both super newcomers. That's scary. With their talents, they will probably enter the hunting pagoda in less than 1 or 2 years. They might become the leaders of the Paradise of Gods in the future. No matter what, let's make friends with them first. If there's a chance in the future, we can invite them to join our team. As long as we invite one of them, our team's strength will definitely increase greatly. The scary thing about these geniuses is not their current strength, but their potential and speed of improvement. Yes, we must make friends with them. At least, we can be normal friends. The Paradise of Gods, which had been quiet for a long time, began to stir. Chapter 1083. 12 days later, Yi Chen's Earth Profound was completed. Of course, it cost him 120 divine coins. Although the Earth Ultimacy had reached perfection, it would still take some time for it to merge with the Metal Ultimacy and make the Sky Absolute Sword even more perfect. After all, the Earth Ultimacy that had merged with the Metal Ultimacy before was greatly different. To perfect the Tianju Sword, he naturally had to go to the Martial Skill Tower. The Martial Skill Tower could create an environment suitable for practicing martial skills according to one's own imagination. What Yi Chen created was a world completely composed of metal and earth yuan qi. This world was not large, only 1,000 miles in radius. Below it was a thick and solid ground, and in the sky, numerous mountain-sized golden iron balls floated. The rich earth yuan qi and metal yuan qi clashed together, creating all kinds of incredible phenomena. Standing in this world, Yi Chen felt that he had a much better understanding of the Tianju sword. Calming himself down, Yi Chen gradually immersed himself in the sword aura of the Tianju sword. After a long while, Yi Chen pulled out the dragon spring sword and simply swung it out. Buzz! Fine ripples spread out, and the golden iron balls in the sky exploded one after another. A long sword mark appeared on the ground, which looked like a huge canyon. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 9 days had passed. On this day, Yi Chen suddenly had an idea. The golden and yellow lines combined together in a very mysterious way. Just like this. Suddenly opening his eyes, Yi Chen held his sword with both hands and threw out a sword attack that looked slow but was actually extremely fast. Pup! This part of the world trembled. In the next moment, everything within the range of the sword force disappeared. It was as if a bubble had burst. It was an understatement. The metal and earth profound has been merged even more deeply. Yi Chen thought about that sword attack. As everyone knew, normally, top-rank profound martial skills contained two kinds of profound, such as Yi Chen's Autumn Water, Merciless Water and Fire, and the Tianju sword. As for momentary glory, it belonged to a special top-rank profound martial skill. A martial art contained two kinds of profoundness. Naturally, they had to coordinate with each other and not cause any internal friction. If they were to go even deeper, they would fuse together. The fusion was just a process. The deeper the fusion, the greater the power. At this moment, the metal ultimacy and earth ultimacy of the sky absolute sword had fused even more perfectly. In terms of pure power, it had actually surpassed the merciless water and fire, as well as the moment of glory. Of course, the moment of glory was powerful because of its ability to stop space. The first floor of the martial skill tower only cost 1 shinbi per day. 9 days meant 9 shinbi. Now Yi Chen had 90 shinbi left. Yi Chen decided not to use these 90 shinbi for the time being. Before he was ready to enter the hunting tower, every single shinbi was precious. Yi Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and exited the martial skill tower. Bang 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 bang. The sound of heavy objects hitting each other was endless, like a violent storm. This was an outdoor stadium that was 1,000 miles long and 100 miles wide. The ground of the stadium was completely made of a special metal, and it looked smooth without any bumps or bump. The stadium was also surrounded by metal walls that were thousands of meters tall. Within the stadium, there was only one stand in the south, and there were exactly 500 seats on the stand. At this moment, there were dozens of people sitting on the stand. On the stadium, 2 people were holding 5-foot-long metal sticks and hitting a ball. Swoosh! A yellow light flashed. The long-haired young man couldn't react in time. The yellow light brushed past his face and hit the metal wall before bouncing back. I'm impressed. I've already tried my best, but I can only last 30 rounds against you, the long-haired young man said in admiration. Haha, I've already reached the 6th level of the God of War Tower. If I can't beat you, I'll be a joke. He had short black hair and was clad in metal armor. This was a very sturdy and calm young man. You'd better find other opponents. I don't want to be beaten by you anymore. The long-haired young man smiled and returned to the stand. Let me try you. At that moment, a young man walked down the stand. It was Agio. You must be this year's super newcomer, Agio. That's good. I want to see how strong the so-called super newcomers are. The sturdy young man had a smile on his face. He had already heard about this year's 3 super newcomers. This Agio could reach the 3rd level of the God of War Tower and the Survival Tower the moment he entered. He was definitely a rare prodigy from the 4 major planet. Of course, he still had to verify whether he was a prodigy or not. A real prodigy could not be weak in other aspects other than strength. This is the Thunderball? Yi Chen had arrived at the stand and sat near Lu Wenxiu, Yan Feihua, and the rest. You're here. Lu Wenxiu and the rest looked over. Other than Ling Fifan and Agio, they had already used up their shinbi. They did not have the confidence to reach the 2nd level of the God of War Pagoda and the Survival Tower in a short time, so they came to watch others play Thunderball. Lu Wenxiu said, Agio's opponent is the leader of a low-level team, Huang Hengfei. He is very good at Thunderball. Other than that, he is also one of the top low-level members of the Paradise of God. Those who reach the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda or the 4th level of the Survival Tower would become a low-level member of the Paradise of Gods. At that time, they could join a low-level team. Of course, they could also form their own low-level team. Since Huang Hengfei was the leader of a low-level team, he was naturally very strong. You can serve first, Huang Hengfei said. Okay. Ajiu did not decline. He held the thunderball in his left hand and threw it high. Bam! When the thunderball fell to a height of 2 meters, Ajiu raised his metal rod and hit the thunderball. The thunderball was a little soft and very elastic. As the metal rod hit, the thunderball was compressed into a flat shape and shot out at an astonishing speed, drawing a yellow line in the air. So that's how it is. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. How the thunderball was shot out and how it flew at such a high speed was clear in his eyes. Seriously speaking, the thunderball was a bit like a baseball, but also a bit like a tennis ball. However, the truly frightening part was that it could be infused with Zhen Yuan and Qi power. Ordinary people could already reach an unbelievable speed, but 2 life and death kings could reach a frightening speed. It was a test of reaction speed and attack speed. If the reaction speed was not fast enough, one would not be able to see the trajectory of the ball. If the attack speed was not fast enough, one would not be able to catch the thunderball and counterattack. Quite fast. Huang Hengfei held the metal rod with one hand and easily counterattacked. Bam! Ajiu immediately hit back. Careful! This time, Huang Hengfei did not hit the ball in a straight line, but at an oblique angle. This way, if Ajiu wanted to catch the ball, he would have to move to an oblique angle. If he was a bit slower, he might not be able to catch the ball. This little difficulty is not difficult for me. Ajiu's movement speed was extremely fast. With a flicker in the air, he arrived before the thunderball. Bam! Ajiu also hit an oblique angle. It's your first time playing the thunderball, yet you are so skilled. As expected of a super rookie. Huang Hengfei was a little surprised. Playing the thunderball seemed simple, but it was definitely not so easy to play for the first time. One must know that the thunderball was infused with energy. If one wanted to hit the thunderball back, one had to disperse the energy inside and then infuse one's own energy. This process was very short. Unknowingly, more than 10 rounds had passed. Ajiu is in danger, Yi Chen suddenly said. What do you mean? Yan Feihua thought that her eyesight was very good, but she did not see anything special. Before Yi Chen could say anything, Ajiu suddenly missed. Although he received the thunderball, the angle of his return was very bad. It was clearly a forward volley, but it became a high throw. It's a spinning ball. Yan Feihua suddenly understood. It was very obvious that Huang Hengfei had added a strong spinning force to the ball just now. If one used an ordinary method to catch the ball, it would naturally cause the ball to go out of control. One had to use the same spinning force to neutralize it. This was not a test of one's reaction speed and attack speed, but one's ability to exert force. Leaping up high, Huang Hengfei smashed Ajiu. Thank you for letting me win. Huang Hengfei landed. A loss is a loss. Here are 10,000 primeval stones. Ajiu took out a box of primeval stones and placed it on the ground. Playing Thunderball required a wager. Under normal circumstances, the wager was 10,000 primeval stones. Of course, if you had a conflict with the other party, you could negotiate with the other party to increase the wager. 100,000, 1,000,000, as long as you had enough primeval stones, you could bet. In the paradise of gods, playing Thunderball was undoubtedly a popular entertainment activity. It could not only entertain the body and mind, but it could also improve one's quality. Huang Hengfei smiled. The other party's personality was not bad. Although this kind of person was arrogant, there was a level of arrogance. In other words, if a genius didn't have arrogance, then it was because he felt inferior. Yi Chen, since you are here, why not come down and play? Huang Hengfei's eyesight was very good. He immediately saw Yi Chen. He had already seen the video of this batch of rookies. I'll do as you say. Yi Chen indeed wanted to play this unique training program. Be careful, His spinning ball has a very high rotation speed. I have no way of surpassing that speed. Jiu reminded Yi Chen as they brushed past each other. Understood. Yi Chen nodded. Old rules, you serve first. Huang Hengfei signaled to Yi Chen. Bang! The ball was thrown up and Yi Chen struck it with his rod. So fast. Many people on the spectators' stand were surprised. When Yi Chen threw up the thunderball, his metal rod had already struck out. The two movements were completed at almost the same time, giving people a strong visual impact. Good timing. Huang Hengfei had played the thunderball countless times and had seen this kind of situation before. He played it down and whipped the thunderball at an even faster speed. Bang 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 bang. After a dozen rounds, Huang Hengfei began his spinning ball attack. Huang Hengfei's spinning ball had a rotation speed that ordinary people couldn't compare with. In the blink of an eye, it was unknown how many times it had rotated. If the rotation speed couldn't reach the spinning speed of the spinning ball, the ball would lose control. Of course, Yi Chen was already mentally prepared. The muscles on his right arm swelled, and Yi Chen's metal rod struck the lower middle of the thunderball. Swoosh! Not only did the thunderball return, but it also produced a flickering arc trajectory, making people unable to see the trajectory of the ball. What? Looking at the distorted trajectory of the ball, everyone on the spectators' stand was shocked. Chapter 1084. Huang Hengfei was even more shocked. There were two reasons for his surprise. First, the spinning ball he had just released had an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it had spun at least 10,000 times. To neutralize this spinning ball, he had to exert an equal amount of rotational force. Second, not only had the other party neutralized the spinning ball, but he had also exerted an unbalanced rotational force on the thunderbolt ball. In other words, the rotational force that the other party had used had far exceeded his. As expected of a monster who reached the 4th level of the God of War pagoda. But that's not enough. Huang Hengfei laughed. His metal rod transformed into dozens of mirages. One of the mirages struck the thunderbolt ball, causing it to turn into a beam of light and shoot toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen instantly caught the trajectory of the thunderbolt ball and struck it with his rod. Swish! The rod missed. The thunderbolt ball seemed to disappear from Yi Chen's senses. The thunderbolt ball disappeared? Impossible! Jiu and the rest couldn't believe it. The ball didn't disappear. It just sped up. Almost subconsciously, Yi Chen used the inertia of his metal rod to spin his body and appear in front of the thunderbolt ball. He struck it with his metal rod. He caught it? Huang Hengfei frowned. He suspected that the other party had practiced the thunderbolt ball before. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a newcomer to receive an instant speed ball. What was an instant speed ball? It was actually related to multiple forces. Huang Hengfei's multiple forces were at the late stage of 4th drive. In that ball just now, he had used 3 drive and 1st drive. 3 drive had been used on the thunderbolt ball while the other 1st drive had been hidden. When the thunderbolt ball was very close to Yi Chen, the hidden 1st drive had instantly erupted, causing the ball's speed to increase. As most people were already used to the ball's previous speed, the eruption of the ball's speed indirectly caused the phenomenon of the ball disappearing. Huang Hengfei swung his metal rod and struck the thunderbolt ball. No, it's an illusion. Huang Hengfei was shocked. He did the exact same action as Yi Chen. He used the inertia of his metal rod to spin his body, appear in front of the thunderbolt ball, and hit it back. That was close. He actually knows an instant speed ball, and he used it in that situation. Huang Hengfei secretly wiped his sweat. Watching the two players play on the court, everyone was dumbfounded. Not to mention Huang Hengfei, he was the captain of a beginner team, so it was natural for him to have this kind of power. Yi Chen was only a newbie, but he had somehow managed to tie with Huang Hengfei, and even saw through the instant speedball. Is he still a newbie? The long-haired young man who fought with Huang Hengfei before muttered. I also wonder if he's a newbie. Lu Wenxiu smiled bitterly. Bin. Instant speed ball. Spinning snake ball. Explosive ball. Speed ball. All kinds of balls were used on the two of them. Usually, Huang Hengfei would use them first, and then Yi Chen would instantly learn them and use them on Huang Hengfei. This caused Huang Hengfei's mind to become tense, and he treated Yi Chen as an opponent of the same level. He didn't dare to be careless. He was sure that if he was careless, he would lose without a doubt. All right, I've never met a rookie as powerful as you. This is my self-created flickering meteor ball. I wonder if you can catch it. Huang Hengfei roared and waved the metal rod in his hand hundreds of times. These hundreds of times were completed in an instant, so they completely overlapped with each other. Crackle! In the void, hundreds of thunderballs appeared. Each of them was so fast, and their auras were astonishing. As long as my speed is fast enough, only one of them will be real. However, my speed is about the same as his, so it's impossible for me to reach such a speed. With my speed, I can probably hit 3 of them, but it won't be easy to hit any of them. The change in the force field caused by waving the metal rod will cause the real thunderball to deviate. In other words, it's very likely that none of the 3 balls will hit. Therefore, I can't hit these 3 balls directly. As long as I hit the point where the force field overlaps, the change in the field will cause the real thunderball to automatically run to the point where my metal rod strikes. As this thought flashed through his mind, Yi Chen waved the metal rod and struck the middle point of the 3 thunderballs. Bang! The thunderball was hit. What kind of reaction speed is this? Huang Hengfei's mouth slightly opened. Forget it. His inner quality is not below mine at all. I can only use absolute power to beat him. Boom! Zhen Yuan exploded as Huang Hengfei used all of his power to hit the thunderball. Dang! The metal rod in Yi Chen's hand was thrown into the air. This thunderball's power was too overbearing. Not to mention counterattacking, Yi Chen could not even catch the ball. His metal rod flew out of his hand. I, Huang Hengfei, rarely admire people, but you are one of them. His cultivation base was at the peak of the 5th sky of life and death realm, which was 2 whole levels higher than his opponent. Moreover, one could not use martial skills while hitting the thunderball. Therefore, whoever had a higher cultivation base would have the absolute advantage. This was something that could not be made up. If Yi Chen's cultivation base were at the 4th sky of life and death realm, he might be able to contend with him. Here are 10,000 yuan stones. A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. He realized that playing the thunderball could indeed improve one's inner quality, just like how battling could improve one's inner quality. However, the difference was that battling had a lot of auxiliary skills, such as protective Zhen Yuan body defense, and all kinds of martial skills. The more auxiliary skills one had, the slower one's inner quality would improve. However, when playing the thunderball, none of these skills could be used, as they were meaningless. Thus, one would feel the real pressure and be forced to improve one's inner quality. Pure inner quality. Huang Hengfei did not look at the yuan stones on the ground and said, I am Huang Hengfei, the captain of the Flying Spirit Team. When you reach the 5th floor of the God of War Tower, you can consider joining our team. The Flying Spirit Team was one of the more powerful teams among the beginner teams. It was also one of the teams that the beginner members of the God Paradise wanted to join the most. I will think about it. Yi Chen faintly nodded. Every other week, Yi Chen would play a few games of Thunderball. Sometimes he would win and sometimes he would lose. Yi Chen tried not to compete with those who had reached the 5th sky of life and death realm, as he did not have that many yuan stones to lose. For the rest of the time, Yi Chen used it all to cultivate his Zhen Yuan. Being greedy for speed was the most important thing to improve one's cultivation, especially in the life and death realm. Every level of life and death realm was equivalent to building a solid foundation. Only with a solid foundation could one continue to improve. If one's foundation was not solid enough, even a tall building would collapse. It was only a matter of time. Therefore, without 100% certainty, Yi Chen would not try to break through to the fourth sky of life and death realm. He did not want to risk his future. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Yi Chen felt that he had close to 100% chance of breaking through to the fourth sky of life and death realm. In this half a year, Gu Qingxue, Zhou Jian, Li Yifeng, Xiao Xiu, Lu Wenxiu, and Yan Feihua had all reached the second floor of the God of War Tower. Yang Ting had reached the third floor, and Ajiu had made it to the fourth floor, just like Yi Chen. On the court, Yi Chen and Ajiu were having a showdown. Ajiu had not only improved his strength, but also his skills. Once his skills improved, it would not be easy for Yi Chen to defeat his opponent. Moreover, Ajiu was also at the fourth sky of life and death realm, one sky higher than Yi Chen. Therefore, in the past month, Yi Chen and Ajiu had 3 wins and 1 loss. This was the 5th time. Looks like this is my second win in a row. Pung! The thunderball flickered in the air, sometimes to the left and sometimes to the right. A smile appeared on Ajiu's face. Not necessarily. A phantom appeared on Yi Chen's body. The phantom waved his rod, and the real body followed. Pung! The thunderball that had escaped was whipped by the real body and shot out. Instant speed ball? Ajiu launched a second attack after the first one missed. But what surprised him was that the second attack also missed. The thunderball hit the metal wall and bounced back. 1 layer of light power, 3 layers of dark power. I see. Ajiu thought for a while and suddenly understood. There were many kinds of instant speedballs. If one reached the 4th drive realm, then there were 3 kinds of instant speedballs, namely, 3 layers of obvious power and 1 layer of hidden power, 2 layers of obvious power and 2 layers of hidden power, and 1 layer of obvious power and 3 layers of hidden power. The 3rd kind had very high technical requirements. It was not very difficult to hide 1 layer of hidden power, but it was a little difficult to hide 2 layers of hidden power, and it was extremely difficult to hide 3 layers of hidden power. This led to the fact that once the speed of the ball exploded, there was no time to react. Finally, I have 100% confidence. On the 11th month since he came to the God Paradise, Yi Chen officially started to attack the 4th sky of life and death realm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Inside the bamboo house, a large amount of yuan stones flew out. The pure energy inside was extracted under the control of an invisible power, forming a river. The river flowed through Yi Chen's head and poured into Yi Chen's body. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. The Zhen Yuan inside Yi Chen's body boiled. The Tao gate in his dantian suddenly expanded and contracted, rapidly transforming the external energy and increasing Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan. Once his Zhen Yuan increased, breaking through to the next realm was a must. 1 day passed. 3 days passed. 10 days passed. 20 days passed. Boom! A frightening aura soared into the sky. The green bamboo house was on the verge of collapse, seeming as if it would be torn into pieces at any moment. However, it was a building of the God Paradise after all, so it was indestructible. Another week passed. Creak. The door of the bamboo house opened, and Yi Chen walked out. The 4th sky of life and death realm. My Zhen Yuan is several times purer and more robust. But it still cost me several tens of thousands of yuan stones, which is equivalent to several 100 million supreme-grade spirit stones. Unbelievable! In the past, Yi Chen had a solid cultivation base, but he didn't have a proper cultivation method. However, after breaking through to the 3rd sky of life and death realm, his cultivation base had been used up. In the future, every time he tried to break through to the next sky of life and death realm, he would need a huge amount of external energy. For the 4th sky, he would need tens of thousands of yuan stones, and for the 5th sky, he would need hundreds of thousands of yuan stones. However, it was precisely because of this that the gap between each sky was so huge. Ordinary geniuses would find it hard to challenge those with higher realms. Chapter 1085. Breaking through to the fourth layer brought Yi Chen not only a sharp increase in his cultivation base, but his sword domain also advanced from the peak of the fourth layer to the fifth layer. Although the fifth layer and the peak of the fourth layer seemed to be only a step apart, the gap between them was immeasurable. This was because the sword domain contained the sword rule. With each layer, the sword rule would become more perfect. Legend had it that once the sword domain reached the peak of the ninth layer, one would possess a trace of sword god's power, and sword god grasped the sword rule. His Zhen Yuan had become several times purer, and his sword domain had advanced from the peak of the fourth layer to the fifth layer. His strength had increased tenfold, and the difference from before was like the difference between heaven and earth. I can challenge the War God Tower and the Survival Tower now. During this year, Yi Chen had used up the remaining 90 Shinbi on comprehending the Wood Profound. Unfortunately, it was still a step away from reaching perfection. Apart from Wood Profound, he still needed to improve the Thunder and Shadow Profounds. Therefore, he was in dire need of Shinbi. Regarding the Slow and Fast Power Upanishad and the Fast Power Upanishad, the Paradise of God didn't have such a power Upanishad tower. They weren't simple power Upanishads. War God Tower's fourth floor Yi Chen's opponent was a Horn Demon King with a cultivation base of sixth layer life and death realm. There was an insurmountable gap between sixth and seventh layer life and death realm. Seventh layer life and death realm could grant one the title of Emperor. This title was not only in terms of title, but also in the Emperor mark. The Emperor mark was extremely mysterious and related to the selfless realm. After breaking through the selfless realm, one could condense their own Emperor mark. Therefore, reaching the seventh sky of life and death realm was as hard as reaching the sky. No one knew how many warriors had been stuck at the sixth sky of life and death realm, unable to make any progress. This had led to the difference in strength among the sixth sky of life and death realm king warriors. The weak ones might not even have 1/10 of the power of the powerful ones. The Horn Demon King before him was not at the bottom of the sixth layer life and death realm, but it was only 2 or 3 times more powerful than them. Roar! The Horned Demon King's demonic power erupted as it fiercely charged at Yi Chen. Facing the Horned Demon King, Yi Chen first released his sword domain and then slashed out. Poochie! The Unicorn Demon King's body froze, and in the next moment, it was sliced into nothingness by the dense sword chi. Past the fourth floor. Reward, 100 Shinbi. The reward for the third floor was 60 Shinbi, and the fourth floor was 100 Shinbi. Paradise Badge upgraded to Primary Badge. Immediately afterward, the Paradise Badge on Yi Chen's chest began to change. First, it was energized and turned into a light, and then it was branded on the back of Yi Chen's hand, like the most realistic tattoo. The color was cyan. Buzz. Yi Chen activated the Elementary Badge on the back of his hand. Immediately, a screen of light appeared, showing that he had 100 Shinbi, as well as a few lines of information. Team. None team identity. None hunting achievement. None mandatory mission. Enter the hunting tower every 3 months. After dispelling the light screen, Yi Chen arrived at the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda. The opponent on the 5th level was the Yiksha King. The Yiksha race was one of the most powerful races in the universe. Their individual strength was powerful, and their average battle power was even higher than that of the demons. However, the Yiksha race's reproductive ability was poor, and they were ranked last among the major races. Of course, this was only in comparison to the other races. This Yiksha King's cultivation base was naturally at the 6th sky of life and death realm. His skin was stone gray, and he had a pair of fleshy wings on his back. His exaggerated muscles showed that he was a life form with explosive power. Swoosh! Holding a sharp spear, the Yiksha King stabbed out. Without a sound, Yi Chen released his sword domain, and the Yiksha King's movements slowed down as if he had fallen into a swamp. But in the next moment, the muscles on his body suddenly squirmed, and a gray halo spread out. This was the Yaksha king's domain. With the domain and the suppression of his cultivation base, the Yaksha king's movements returned to normal. Not only that, as if he was on stimulants, the speed of his spear once again increased. Ding! Yi Chun blocked the attack with his dragon spring sword. Worthy of the 5th level. The 4th level Demon King's domain was only at the late 3rd level, while the 5th level Yaksha King's domain had already reached the early 4th level. Combined with his 6th Sky of Life and Death Realm cultivation base, it just happened to cancel out Yi Chen's 5th level sword domain. Swish! 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 The Yaksha King's speed was extremely fast. The pair of fleshy wings on his back gave him a powerful explosive power. However, Yi Chen could tell that the Yaksha King was good at short-range explosiveness. Within a certain distance, no one could surpass his speed. However, no matter how he attacked, he was blocked out by Yi Chen. Almost there. Yi Chen, who had been circling the whole time, suddenly jumped up and charged toward the Yaksha King. Clang! The sword and the spear clashed. The Yaksha King's arm shook violently, and the spear flew out of his hand. The dragon spring sword paused slightly, and Yi Chen's right arm muscle swelled as he waved out the second sword attack. The sword light flickered, and half of the Yaksha King's body disappeared like a bubble. The 5 fingers of his left hand opened, and 5 fluctuating sword chi converged together. Yi Chun directly destroyed the remaining half of the Yaksha King's body. 5th level pass. Reward: 300 Shinbi. After passing the 5th level, Yi Chen's number of Shinbi increased to 400, which was not a small number. On the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda, the opponent became the evil king of the evil spirit race. The evil spirit race was a very strange race. In Elysium, the evil spirit race was suppressed by the Elysium, so they could not display their strangeness. The strangeness of the evil spirit race lay in their life structure and inconceivable evil arts. The evil spirit race was different from other races. They did not have the ability to reproduce, and every single one of them was born on an evil altar. It was said that there was a most primitive evil altar in the evil spirit world, and that was the origin of the evil spirit race. They were born with immortal bodies, and they were immune to most negative effect. Although their race was not as strong as the Yaksha race, even the demons were not willing to provoke this race. As for the evil arts of the evil spirit race, they were inconceivable. Resurrection, curses, death, life transfer, and possession were all kinds of terrifying evil arts. It could be said that the evil spirit race was the most difficult race to kill. Death Halo. As soon as he appeared, this evil king gave Yi Chen a death halo. Once enveloped by the death halo, one's essence, chi, and spirit would continuously disappear until one died. Looking at the gray halo that suddenly appeared on his body, Yi Chen frowned. If the evil spirit race of Elysium was also this terrifying, they would have won even more miserably. Immortal protection. The immortal sword intent exploded, and the death halo collapsed. Facing the immortal sword intent of the 7th order, Yi Chen was immune to all evil, and no negative effects could affect him. Autumn blade falling rain. Seeing that the death halo was ineffective, the evil king pulled out his evil blade and slashed at Yi Chen. So fast. Yi Chen waved his sword to block, but his whole body was sent flying. Shadow of death. Suddenly Yi Chen's body froze. Countless shadow tentacles shot out from under his feet and wrapped around his body. These shadow tentacles were formless and intangible, but they had unimaginable power. Yi Chen could not break free even if he used his true yuan. The immortal protection sword intent could only protect his body, and it could not destroy all the shadow tentacles at once. Chi. The evil king swung his blade, and the blade light covered the whole world. A cold light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes, and he pushed the instant sword domain to the limit. Instantly, the speed of the blade light's attack slowed down. Taking this opportunity, Yi Chen used the 3 flowers borrowing Tao. 1 red, 1 yellow, and 1 blue flower floated above Yi Chen's head. At the same time, Yi Chen's essence, energy, and spirit multiplied. Bang bang bang! The shadow tentacles were broken, and Yi Chen did not hesitate to use the instant glory. The blade light and the sword light shattered at the same time. However, Yi Chen's instant sword domain increased the binding power of the 3 flowers borrowing Tao. The evil king's movements were not as fast as before, and Yi Chen took the initiative to destroy the evil king's body with a sky absolute sword. However, Yi Chen did not expect that the evil king did not die. He had only destroyed a human-shaped wooden sculpture. It's the life transfer technique. Yi Chen was shocked. He had heard of the life transfer technique before. This kind of evil technique could transfer a portion of one's life energy to another object, allowing that object to have battle strength similar to the main body. Furthermore, there were no flaws. The disadvantage was that once the transferred life energy was destroyed, it could not be recovered. The main body would definitely lose a portion of life energy, and their lifespan would be reduced. This was a forbidden technique of the evil spirit race, and they would not use it easily. However, this was the god of war pagoda, and the other party was only a guardian. There were not that many taboos. Even when the effects of the 3 flowers borrowing Tao were about to disappear, Yi Chen still could not kill the evil king. The other party had too many clones, and they came one after another. He could not kill them all. If he wanted to pass this level, he had to exhaust the evil king's life energy so that the other party could not use the life transfer technique. Otherwise, he could use absolute strength to completely lock onto the evil king's main body and prevent it from escaping. However, Yi Chen was only slightly stronger than the evil king, so he could not do that. In the end, Yi Chen stopped at the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda. After coming out of the God of War Pagoda, Yi Chen went straight to the Survival Tower. Previously, Yi Chen already had the ability to pass the 4th level of the Survival Tower. However, he was still too weak at that time, and Yi Chen did not want to pass the 4th level so early. This was because to pass the 5th or 4th level of the God of War Pagoda, he had to enter the hunting tower once every 3 months. It was too dangerous. This time, Yi Chen did not hesitate. Soon, he passed the 3rd level of the Survival Tower. The reward was 100 shinbi. The 4th level was to enter a heavily guarded Yiksha territory and assassinate a Yiksha king before leaving. The difficulty was many times higher than the 3rd level. If one was not careful, they would be surrounded. Yi Chen spent some effort to sneak in. After successfully assassinating the target, Yi Chen directly killed his way out. With the powerful split sword domain, Yi Chen easily killed his way out and left. After passing the 4th level, Yi Chen received another 300 shinbi. Just like that, Yi Chen had 800 shinbi. It was enough for him to stay in the Olden Tower for more than 2 months. Chapter 1086. The difficulty of the 5th floor increased by several times. This time, he would not only have to face a large number of enemies, but also a lot of unknown dangers. Apart from that, one could not fly on the 5th floor, and could only rely on walking. Although life and death realm warriors could walk quite fast, it would still cause a lot of trouble. Too many. The whole planet is filled with enemies, and I still have to collect all 12 meteorites. Even Yi Chen felt that the difficulty of the 5th floor was quite tricky. Under the circumstances where no one could fly, it was impossible for him to be besieged. However, due to the sheer number of enemies covering the entire planet, he would either have to flee or fight. This was a great test of one's will, which was an indispensable part of survival. Shoo! In the dense forest, a cone-shaped fire thunder shot toward Yi Chen's head. It was a sharp arrow, and the one who shot it was a Yiksha archer. In front of the archer, there were 7 or 8 demon kings and Yiksha kings chasing after Yi Chen. The distance between the two sides was about 1,000 li due to the rules. The range of soul power was very small on the 5th floor, and the destructive power was also very small. If one wanted to notice something far away, they could only rely on their eyesight. Therefore, a long-range arrow attack would be very fatal. Yi Chen twisted his body, dodging the arrow. When he completed his 360-degree turn, Yi Chen's sword chi also shot out, following the arrow's trajectory and attacking the source. Pooh! That Yiksha archer's head was hit by the sword chi and exploded, but he did not die. However, it was enough. The destructive sword intent had already invaded his body, and could not be expelled in a short period of time. In Yi Chen's eyes, he was no different from a target. Right now, he had to deal with 4 Demon Kings and 3 Yiksha Kings. The Demon Kings and Yiksha Kings' speed was very fast, and they could cover 1,000 li in a couple of breaths. But suddenly, they lost one member, and then another. In the blink of an eye, 4 Demon Kings and 3 Yiksha Kings were annihilated. What had killed them was not Yi Chen, but a kind of black golden huge flower. Their roots seemed to be only a few hundred meters long, but they could stretch for hundreds of miles. When those huge flowers bloomed, the inside was filled with spiral-shaped sawteeth, which were immeasurably deep. These sawteeth obviously contained a deadly poison that could enchant the souls of life and death realm warriors, killing them as they pleased. Universe variant plant, Emperor flower seedling. Monarch flowers were the apex predators at the top of the pyramid of plant. When they were still in the seedling stage, they could already hunt down kings below the 7th sky of life and death realm. Once they matured, even titled monarchs would have to keep their distance. Under normal circumstances, a mature monarch flower could absorb the nutrients of an entire planet. When the planet's nutrients were exhausted, the monarch flower would drive the planet's outer shell to wander in the universe and hunt. The 5th floor of the survival tower actually has an imperial flower seedling. Yi Chen frowned. If he encountered an imperial flower seedling, it would be very dangerous for him. He would not be able to take it head-on, so he could only dodge. Yi Chen did not have the time to kill the archer, so he rushed toward the place where the meteor chi was coming from. The first one. Soon, Yi Chen found the first meteorite, and there were 11 left. The 7th one. The 9th one. The 11th one. Only the last one left. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chen had stayed in the 5th floor for a month. During this month, he had been hunted down 823 times. He had killed 248 enemies, and had been injured more than 100 times. 60 of those injuries were not caused by enemies, but by the unknown dangers of this planet. Imperial flower seedling, king eating grass, blood plain, white bone path. They are all on the 5th floor, but the difficulty of the 5th floor is several times higher than the 5th floor of the God of War Tower. It is almost the same as the 6th floor of the God of War Tower. I wonder what kind of dangers await me at the end. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. His nerves were stretched taut. During this month, he had not rested at all. He was sure that if he relaxed even a little bit, the consequences would be unimaginable. The aura of the 12th meteorite. This planet was not small, having a diameter of 10 million li based on the size of a meteorite. The range of its aura was uncertain. Even from 10,000 li away, Yi Chen could sense the aura emitted by the 12th meteorite. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen quietly entered the forest, heading towards the source of the meteorite's aura. After a meal, Yi Chen stopped. Using his vision, Yi Chen saw a barren land a few hundred miles away. In the middle of the empty land, a 10-meter blue meteorite crystal had fallen. It was a meteorite. However, there was an imperial flower seedling hidden in the forest near the meteorite. This imperial flower seedling had changed color, so much so that it had blended in with its surroundings. If not for Yi Chen's strong vision, he would not have been able to see through it. If he was not careful, he might be eaten alive by the imperial flower seedling. This place is a few hundred miles away from the meteorite. Before I reach it, I might be eaten by the imperial flower seedling. It seems that I have to attract some enemies so that I can deceive them. After making up his mind, Yi Chen retreated. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One sharp arrow after another shot out, chasing after Yi Chen, who was still running. There are a total of 18 enemies. They should be able to buy me some time. If not, I'll have to fight. There were 18 enemies behind Yi Chen. Among them, 3 were Yiksha archers, 2 were demon archers, and the other 13 were demon kings, 4 Yiksha kings, and 5 evil kings. It was a very powerful team. Soon, Yi Chen was less than 500 miles away from the meteorite. This distance was within the attack range of the imperial flower seedling. However, it was obvious that the imperial flower seedling was quite intelligent. It did not attack immediately. It would wait for everyone to be within its attack range before attacking. 400 miles, 300 miles, 200 miles, 100 miles. When Yi Chen was less than 50 miles away from the meteorite, the imperial flower seedling attacked. It first attacked the 5 archers at the back. 5 flower buds shot out in the shape of a shuttle. When they approached the 5 archers, they suddenly opened and swallowed them. After chewing for a while, they were completely digested. Got it. By now, Yi Chen had already obtained the meteorite. Looking back, there were only 3 enemies left. In a short period of time, the imperial flower seedling had attacked 3 times, and each time it ate 5 enemies. Run. Without any other thoughts, Yi Chen exerted force with his feet, causing the ground to collapse. He ran at his maximum speed. Hiss! An air-piercing sound came. Yi Chen almost instinctively rolled to the right. Rumble! A large piece of soil disappeared. The imperial flower seedling's attack had failed. Hiss! 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 This time, there were 5 air-piercing sounds. Obviously, all the enemies had been killed. The imperial flower seedling had put all of its energy on Yi Chen. Split sword domain, slow down. Yi Chen released his sword domain, which slowed down the imperial flower seedling's attack speed. However, Yi Chen's speed didn't slow down, but increased instead. Finally, Yi Chen was 500 miles away. What? The attack range is over 500 miles. The air-piercing sound came from behind him, faster than any of the previous times. Even the split sword domain couldn't stop it. It seemed like the power contained in it had surpassed the limit of the split sword domain. Clang! The dragon's spring sword automatically flew out of its sheath, turned into 100 sword shadows, and shot out. 100 sword shadows. Clang! 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 Sparks flew everywhere. The 100 sword shadows blocked the imperial flower seedling for a second. Seizing this opportunity, Yi Chen moved sideways. Bang! The ground on his right cracked, and a large piece of it disappeared. So close. The imperial flower seedling only stopped its attack after escaping for 1,000 miles. Putting away the dragon's spring sword, Yi Chen turned around and realized something. It seemed like the imperial flower seedling had 5 flower buds, and one of them was the most powerful one. Its attack range had reached 1,000 miles. It was said that the number of flower buds it had represented its cultivation. 5 flower buds were equivalent to the 5th sky of life and death realm. However, a 5th sky imperial flower seedling was much more powerful than most 6th sky life and death realm kings. 12-star meteorites are in my hands. I should be more careful from now on. I can't be careless. After spending half a day, Yi Chen arrived at a tall mountain, and a beam of light shrouded him. Past the 5th floor of Survival Tower. Reward: 600 Shinbi. Primary badge upgraded to Intermediate badge. A voice came down from the sky. Reaching the 5th floor of the God of War Tower, which was the 4th floor, would upgrade one's badge to a primary badge. Reaching the 7th floor, which was the 6th floor, would upgrade it to an intermediate badge. The Survival Tower would also have 1 floor less. As long as one could reach the 3rd floor and the 4th floor, one would be able to upgrade it to a primary badge. After reaching the 5th floor and the 6th floor, one would be able to upgrade it to an intermediate badge. However, it was different from 1 year ago. 1 year ago, as long as Yi Chen reached the 4th floor, he would have to enter the hunting tower once in 3 months. But now, although Yi Chen's badge had been upgraded to an intermediate badge, he still had to go through 3 hunts in the 1st or 2nd floor of the hunting tower. Not only the 1st and 2nd floor, but also the 3rd and 4th floor required 3 hunts. In other words, even if one had the strength of a senior member, he would still have to complete 6 hunts in the 1st to 4th floor. Of course, this kind of situation rarely happened. Most people only had to go through 1 floor at a time, but Yi Chen had gone through several floors at once. On the 6th floor of the survival tower, Yi Chen had only stayed for 3 days before he was eliminated. The difficulty here had already surpassed the 6th floor of the God of War tower. Even Yi Chen couldn't pass it. What Yi Chen didn't know was that as he passed through the God of War tower and survival tower, his ranking in the 1st floor of the hunting tower kept rising. When he reached the 6th floor of the survival tower, he was already ranked 1st. The Fei Ling team leader, Huang Hengfei, was ranked 3rd below him. And behind his name, there was the words, intermediate member. What? He became an intermediate member in one go? This Yi Chen newbie is too crazy. We must find a way to get him to join our battle team. Although he's already a mid-ranked member, he still needs to complete 3 hunts on the 1st and 2nd floor of the hunting tower. With his strength, he'll definitely be able to lead us to an overwhelming victory and earn more Shinbi. Chapter 1087. 1 to 10, 10 to 100. The news of Yi Chen becoming a mid-rank member soon spread throughout the whole God Paradise. My bad. If I had known that he would improve so quickly, I would have communicated with him earlier. With him joining our Fei Ling team, we would be able to dominate the 2nd level of the hunting battlefield. We would be able to earn multiple divine coins in one go. After receiving the news, Huang Hengfei frowned. In terms of combat power, Yi Chen might not be stronger than him. They were both at the 6th level of the God of War pagoda. However, in terms of survivability, Huang Hengfei was much weaker than Yi Chen. Strong survivability meant that Yi Chen could adapt to any environment. The hunting battlefield was no exception. Unlike some people who made mistakes the first time they entered the hunting battlefield and couldn't adapt to the environment in a short time. This was also why the 1st level of the hunting tower existed. The 2nd level of the hunting tower was for teams to hunt, while the 1st level was for individuals to hunt. Under normal circumstances, a new member wouldn't be accepted by a team. They had to survive a few times on the 1st level of the hunting tower before being accepted by a team. Of course, a monster like Yi Chen was an exception. Time is of the essence. If I miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. After making up his mind, Huang Hengfei decided to recruit Yi Chen even if he had to pay a price. With such a strong person's help, they would definitely be able to earn more divine coins. With divine coins, his strength could continue to improve. Perhaps he could even reach the 7th level of the God of War pagoda within a year and become a mid-level member of the Paradise of Gods. What? You're saying that Yi Chen became a mid-level member in a year? In the Paradise of Gods there was a hotel. In this hotel, one only needed to pay 1 Shinbi to enjoy the finest wine. On the 2nd floor of the hotel, 5 young men sat together, led by a valiant and formidable-looking woman. This was a mid-level team, and the leader was this woman. Her name was Huang Fuyu. She was very strong and had already reached the 8th level of the God of War pagoda. She was only 1 level away from becoming a high-level member. She seemed to be in disbelief when she heard that Yi Chen had become a mid-level member. The young man nodded and said, "That's right. I didn't believe it at first, but I purposely went to the hunting pagoda and found that he was ranked 1st on the hunting pagoda's primary member information screen. His current strength is at the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda and the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda. Amazing, becoming an intermediate member in just 1 year. This is something that has never happened in the paradise of gods for tens of thousands of years. This means that his potential is very great, and he is constantly improving. Although he needs to complete 3 primary hunts, we have to act early. After he completes the 3 hunts, let him join our team. Captain, although his potential is astonishing, his strength is still very weak compared to an intermediate member. Will adding him drag us down? A young man voiced his opinion. What do you know? This is called striking first gains the upper hand. When he's stronger than us, it won't be us choosing him, but him choosing us. So, although he's still very weak now, once he grows up, he'll become our team's trump card. Moreover, his survivability isn't any weaker than yours, so he might not drag us down. That's true. This person's survivability is too strong. He actually made it to the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda. In the team, apart from the captain, Huang Fuyu, and the vice-captain, the others were all at the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda, 1 level higher than Yi Chen. As for the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda, they were the same as Yi Chen. Yi Chen, congratulations. I didn't expect you to become an intermediate member so soon. It had been a few days since Yi Chen had made it to the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda. These days, Yi Chen didn't cultivate immediately. Instead, he took some time to relax. A martial artist's cultivation was all about relaxation and tension. If one was too impatient, they would lose their freedom and turn themselves into a martial artist's puppet. In the hotel, this year's newcomers gathered for a drink. Of course, Yi Chen treated them. Each person received 10 bottles of supreme-grade wine. Anyway, he had 1,400 shinbi now, and 1 shinbi was enough to buy many supreme-grade wines. It's nothing. As long as you work hard, you can also become a primary member very quickly and earn more shinbi. Yi Chen took a sip of wine and said, "It's difficult. Our talents are only above average in the paradise of gods. If we want to become a primary member, it will take at least 5 years. Only Lung Fifan, Audiobook, and you have more potential." The one who spoke was Lu Wenxiu. Well, 5 years is still too little. But we are not in a hurry. To us, becoming a primary member too early is not a good thing. In the hunting battlefield, the weak will only become prey. What we need to do is to build a solid foundation. Xiao Xiu nodded. Zhou Jian was also at the table. He didn't dislike Yi Chen as much anymore. After coming to the paradise of gods, he realized that there were so many geniuses in the universe. There would always be someone better than you. Comparing yourself with others would only bring trouble to yourself. Comparing yourself was the source of continuous improvement. As long as they could surpass their past selves, one day, they would all be at the forefront. As for comparing himself with Yi Chen, it was simply asking for a beating. A year ago, Yi Chen had already reached the 4th level of the God of War Pagoda. A year later, Yi Chen had already reached the 6th level. This speed of improvement was simply shocking. Zhou Jian had only barely reached the 3rd level of the God of War Pagoda. He was far behind even Yi Chen from a year ago. Not to mention Yi Chen, even Audiobook and Ling Fifan were not people he could easily catch up with. Audiobook had already reached the 4th level of the God of War Pagoda half a year ago. He would probably reach the 5th level in less than a year and become a primary member of the Paradise of God. Ling Fifan had reached the 4th level 3 months ago. In 2 years, he would almost become a primary member. Yi Chen, you go first now. But my martial phantom is about to break through. Then, let's compete again. Audio's martial phantom could produce 3 phantoms, but in the past year, he had made great progress in his spear Dao. When his spear Dao was formed, he would be able to produce 4 phantoms. Together with his real body, he would have 5 times the battle power. Okay. Yi Chen smiled. After drinking for a while, More and more people came to the hotel. Yi Chen, I wonder if you can come over for a chat? Huang Hengfei walked over. Yi Chen nodded and said to Audiobook and the rest, you guys stay here and drink. I'll go over for a while. Okay, I didn't expect the Paradise of Gods to have all kinds of top-grade wine. It would be a waste not to drink. Yi Chen treated them, and they were very happy to drink. Following Huang Hengfei, Yi Chen came to another table. Apart from Huang Hengfei, there were 3 other people at the table, 2 men and 1 woman. A primary team could not have more than 5 people. Previously, the Flying Spirit team had lost 1 member and had yet to make up for it. If Yi Chen could join, there would be exactly 5 people. Yi Chen, let me introduce you. This is the Flying Spirit team's deputy leader, Lin Xiaofeng. He is at the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda. This is Wei Dong. Li Wei is at the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda. Everyone, this is Yi Chen. He has already reached the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda. Huang Hengfei introduced both sides. It's an honor to meet you. The Flying Spirit team's deputy leader, Lin Xiaofeng, and the other 2 members stood up, their faces full of admiration. It's just a temporary breakthrough. Yi Chen said. Alright, sit down. Huang Hengfei passed his top-grade wine to Yi Chen and said, Yi Chen, I told you last time that you can consider joining the Flying Spirit team when you are qualified. What do you think? No problem. Yi Chen agreed without hesitation. If he had not reached the 6th level of the Survival Pagoda, he would have considered it more. However, he was already an intermediate member. After joining the Flying Spirit team, he could only participate in 3 hunts. Since there were only 3 hunts, there was no need to consider so much. The Flying Spirit team was indeed one of the top primary teams, and Huang Hengfei was ranked 3rd among the primary members. Haha, you are indeed a straightforward person. Huang Hengfei was taken aback. He did not expect Yi Chen to agree so easily. Then, a joyful expression appeared on his face. With Yi Chen, their team would have 3 warriors at the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda. Adding Yi Chen's survivability, the overall strength of the Flying Spirit battle team would undoubtedly reach another level. Oh yes, what are the rewards for the 1st and 2nd levels of the Hunting Pagoda? The 1st and 2nd levels of the Hunting Pagoda were both primary hunting battlefield. Yi Chen wanted to ask what the difference was. Deputy Leader Lin Xiaofeng said, This is exactly what we wanted to talk to you about. The 1st level of the Hunting Pagoda is for individual hunts, and the 2nd level is for teams. If it was someone else, I might persuade them to hunt a few more times on the 1st level to adapt to the environment. But for you, I think it's better for you to hunt as a team. Because your survival ability is strong enough, you will definitely be able to adapt to the hunting battlefield. Staying on the 1st level will only waste time and energy. That's right. Huang Hengfei nodded. On the 1st level, killing a primary member of another paradise is only rewarded with 100 Shinbi. But on the 2nd level, killing a primary member of another paradise is rewarded with 1,000 Shinbi. Although not all of the 1,000 Shinbi belongs to you, according to your contribution, you will definitely get more than the 1st level. For example, if it is divided equally, each person will get 200 Shinbi. In addition, there is also a team reward, which is 10% of the total harvest. That is to say, if our Flying Spirit team gets 1,000 Shinbi, the team reward will be 100 Shinbi. After listening to their explanation, Yi Chen more or less understood the rules of the Hunting Pagoda. Not to mention individual hunts, all the Shinbi obtained would belong to them. But when hunting in a team, the Shinbi would be divided according to the individual's contribution. The ratio was very simple. There were 5 people in a primary hunting team. If one's contribution was 1%, then one would get 1%. If one's contribution was 2%, then it would be 40%. 1% was the average, which meant that one's contribution was the most average. If it was more than 1%, it meant that one's contribution was more. If it was less than 1%, it meant that one's contribution was less. The total contribution of the team was 5. Chapter 1088. Our Flying Spirit Squad is one of the best beginner squads. On average, we can kill one beginner member of another playground every time we hunt. Including the squad rewards and other rewards, the total income from a single hunt is about 2,000 shinbi. Even if we divide it equally among 5 people, each person will get 400 shinbi. Since we hunt once every 3 months, we can hunt 4 times a year. In other words, each person can earn 1,500 shinbi a year. As for ordinary beginner squads, it's already not bad if each person can earn 400 shinbi a year. Including you, it's possible for each person to earn more than 2,000 shinbi a year. Huang Hengfei continued. Vice Captain Lin Xiaofeng laughed. Captain, you forgot to mention one thing. If you can annihilate the other team in the hunting battlefield, you'll get double the amount of shinbi. A team of 5 people would get 5,000 shinbi. Double the amount would be 20,000 shinbi. Adding on the rewards, it's really amazing. We'll be rich in one go. Annihilate the enemy team, double the amount of shinbi. Yi Chen showed a trace of surprise. Yes, but... Huang Hengfei smiled bitterly. It is very difficult to annihilate the enemy team. I have been in the paradise of gods for dozens of years, and the most I have ever killed was 3 members of an enemy team. Of course, it is not that there is no such thing, but it is very, very rare. Joining a team was very simple. One only needed to activate the light screen of the badge, then search for a team, find the Flying Spirit Battle Team, and click to join. The badge of the Paradise Battle Team contained a person's soul imprint. A team is equivalent to 5 people's soul imprints linked together. After joining a team, no matter how far away you are, you can contact your team members, and you can also easily find the location of your team members through the light screen of the badge. Now the light screen of Yi Chen's badge showed Team, Flying Spirit Battle Team, Team Identity, Member Team Size, 5 Hunting Count, None Hunting Achievement, None Number of Shinbi, 1 389 inch. Haha, from now on we are a team. I hope we can win the first hunt. Cheers. Huang Hengfei raised his glass and drank it in one gulp. Yi Chen and the other 3 also drank the wine in their glasses. After 3 rounds of drinking, a clear voice sounded. You are Yi Chen. I'm Huang Fuyu, the captain of the Frost Battle Team. It's an honor to meet you. A valiant and formidable-looking young woman walked over. She wore an ice-blue tight-fitting robe, and her hair was coiled up with a hairpin. At the end of the hairpin hung a small crystal. I'm Yi Chen. What's the matter? Yi Chen stood up. I would like to invite you to join the Frost Battle Team. Of course, after you have completed 3 beginner hunt. Huang Fuyu smiled. Yi Chen, the Ice Frost Battle Team, is ranked 4th among the mid-level teams. Their captain, Huang Fuyu, has already reached the 8th level of the God of War Pagoda and the 7th level of the Survival Tower. Their vice-captain has also reached the same level. I think you should consider it. As for the top 3 mid-level teams, although they are slightly stronger than the Ice Frost Battle Team, they are all full members. Only the Ice Frost Battle Team is missing 1 member. If you decline now, it will probably be difficult to join them in the future. Huang Hengfei whispered to Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded slightly. Indeed, it was not easy to join a team. It also depended on whether the other team was full or not. If the other team was full, it would be impossible even if he wanted to join. After all, they would not kick someone because of him. This would make the other team members feel insecure. If there are no accidents, I will consider the Ice Frost Battle Team first, Yi Chen said. Good. That's good enough. Huang Fuyu was very satisfied with this result. Although among the top 4 mid-level teams, only the Ice Frost Battle Team was missing 1 member, it did not mean that the other teams did not have any thoughts about Yi Chen. The hunting battlefield was extremely dangerous, and they could lose members at any time. The Ice-Frost battle team was already very strong, but they still lost one member. Maybe after Yi Chun completed 3 beginner hunts, the top 4 mid-level teams would all be missing members. Therefore, she decided to strike first. If she struck later, Yi Chun would probably not consider the Ice-Frost battle team first. These 10 bottles of ice and fire 9 heavens are for you. Huang Fu Yu waved her hand, and 10 bottles of wine appeared on the table in front of Yi Chun. She then turned and left. Ice and fire 9 heavens, good wine. This is a top-grade wine worth 10 shinbi per bottle. 10 bottles is 100 shinbi. Huang Hengfei's eyes widened. In the paradise of gods, 1 shinbi could buy 10 bottles of top-grade low-grade wine. For example, when Yi Chun treated a Jiu and the others, it only cost him 11 shinbi. But the ice and fire 9 heavens that Huang Fu Yu gave to Yi Chun cost 10 shinbi per bottle. 10 bottles were 100 shinbi. This was not a small amount. Huang Hengfei could only earn a few hundred shinbi every time he hunted, which was not even enough for himself. He had only drunk 1 bottle of ice and fire 9 heavens, which was too extravagant. Team member Li Wei said enviously, "Captain Huang Fu Yu is indeed generous, but she is the captain of the Frost Battle Squad. She can probably earn 2,000 shinbi in a single hunt, so 100 shinbi is still within her budget." Team member Wei Dong said, "You can't say that. The higher one's strength, the harder it is to improve. Spending shinbi is like flowing water. For example, 1 shinbi can be used to cultivate for a day on the first floor of the martial skill tower, but 10 shinbi for the second floor, and 100 shinbi for the third floor. Other than that, the Tower of Time is also very expensive." "That's right. I guess only high-ranking members can afford ice and fire 9 heavens. They earn a ridiculous amount of shinbi. Spending 100 shinbi every month isn't a big deal, but it's hard to say if they spend more than that." Vice Captain Lin Xiaofeng nodded. Yi Chun opened the cork of the ice and fire 9 heavens bottle and took a sip. Immediately, his body felt cold at first, then hot. Ice and fire blended together, and all 48,000 pores on his body opened up. Every cell in his body seemed to have eaten a great tonic, wriggling crazily as they absorbed the wine's power. This ice and fire 9 heavens had the effect of tempering one's spirit body, although it wasn't very obvious. Moreover, with just 1 sip, Yi Chun felt a slight intoxicating taste. For a life-and-death king, this was an incredible feeling. Even 10 bottles of ordinary supreme rank wine wouldn't be enough to make one drunk. "You guys drink too." Yi Chun gave a bottle of ice and fire 9 heavens to Huang Hengfei and the other 3. "Hee, then we won't stand on ceremony." Huang Hengfei licked his lips. It had been a long time since he had tasted the ice and fire 9 heavens. Before leaving the hotel, Yi Chun and Huang Hengfei and the other 3 had agreed to enter the hunting tower to hunt in 2 months. Therefore, in the next 2 months, Yi Chun had to continue to increase his power in order to make sure nothing went wrong. Right now, Yi Chun had completed 4 profounds, which were the metal profound, water profound, fire profound, and earth profound. His next task was to complete the wood profound, thunder profound, and shadow profound. First was the wood profound. 1 week later, the wood profound was completed. 25 days later, the thunder profound was completed. There were only 4 days left before the 2 months, and the shadow profound was also completed. Yi Chun discovered that the more profounds one comprehended, the harder it was to complete the later ones. It seemed that a person's soul had a limit to what it could bear, and could not bear too many profounds. For example, Ah Jiu and Lu Wenxiu, the 2 of them had a stronger soul force. Therefore, they had grasped 6 complete profounds respectively. Yi Chun's soul force was above theirs, but there were too many profounds involved. Other than the 7 complete profounds of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, and shadow, there was also the space profound, fast profound, and slow profound. One person had more than 10 profounds, especially the space profound, which was equivalent to several ordinary profounds. Of course, even so, Yi Chen's soul had not reached its limit. It was just that his comprehension had slowed down slightly. There were only 4 days left, and Yi Chen decided to be extravagant. He came to the 3rd floor of the martial skill tower. One had to pay 100 shinbi a day, and of course, the beginner members only had to pay 90 shinbi. This was a world of fire and water. Water surged violently, and flames soared to the sky. Water and fire collided, creating a boundless white mist. The white mist was like a white dragon, rolling and spiraling. Sword after sword attack, Yi Chen's comprehension was getting deeper and deeper. The 3rd floor of the martial skill tower was still the 3rd floor after all, and could not be compared to the 1st floor. The comprehension speed was 100 times faster than the 1st floor, and Yi Chen could feel a flash of inspiration at every second. Go! On the 3rd day, Yi Chen swung his sword, and a scorching white dragon fiercely pounced out. Be it the waves of water or fire, they were all pierced by this white dragon, resulting in a heaven-shaking explosion. This white dragon looked like it was condensed from white mist, but it was actually a deeper transformation of the power of water and fire. It just looked like white mist on the outside. That's right, this move was the evolved version of Merciless Water and Fire. Merciless Water and Fire was the Fire Emperor's self-created martial art. With Yi Chen's current cultivation realm, he had far surpassed the Fire Emperor. In his opinion, the merciless water and fire created by the Fire Emperor had gone astray in many aspects, and it couldn't bring out the full potential of merciless water and fire. The more Yi Chen studied merciless water and fire, the more he felt restricted. For example, the Fire Emperor's merciless water and fire was a bottle that could only hold 1 bottle of water. But Yi Chen's foundation wasn't just a bottle of water. No matter how hard he tried, he wouldn't be able to bring out his foundation. Therefore, Yi Chen simply used merciless water and fire as the foundation to create his own water and fire profound sword art. This sword art was still in its embryonic form, but it already surpassed merciless water and fire in might. I'll call you White Dragon Annihilation. White Dragon Annihilation used merciless water and fire as the foundation, and Destruction Sword Intent as the essence. Its purpose was to destroy, and destroy everything in front of it. Why isn't Yi Chen here yet? Outside the hunting tower, Li Wei looked at the sun in the paradise of gods and asked. Wait a little longer, he should be here soon. Huang Hengfei said. After a cup of tea's time, Huang Hengfei revealed a smile. He's here. Sorry to have kept you guys waiting. Not far away, Yi Chen walked over. He was immersed in comprehending White Dragon Annihilation and almost forgot about the time. No rush. Since you're here, let's go in. All right. The group of 5 entered the hunting tower. Chapter 1089. The first level of the hunting pagoda was for individual hunting, while the second level was for teams. Be it the first or second level, there was a light door in the center. Through the light door, one could enter the hunting battlefield. Buzz. Instantly, the 5 of them disappeared into the light door on the second level of the hunting pagoda. When they reappeared, a vast starry sky appeared in front of them. The stars in the sky were like diamonds, deep and dreamy. Not far away, there was a group of black meteorites floating over, as if they would hit the yellow planet under their feet at any time, giving them a strong sense of pressure. Starry sky. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. The hunting battlefield's environment is the starry sky. As for whether it is a real starry sky, I don't know. At least I can't tell. Huang Hengfei nodded. After pondering for a while, Yi Chen said, This starry sky shouldn't be that simple, right? Lin Xiaofeng said, How can the hunting battlefield be simple? There are also treasures here. Lin Xiaofeng said, How can the hunting battlefield be simple? There are treasures here as well. Although we might not be able to get Shinbi, it's still worth it if we can get some treasures. Other than that, the hunting battlefield is filled with dangers, not only from enemies, but also from dangerous places and bugs. There are some dangerous places where you can barely make it out alive, so you have to be observant and not be greedy. As for the bugs, they are a problem that we cannot avoid. They are everywhere in the hunting battlefield, and we can encounter them anytime, anywhere. It's fine if there are only a few of them, but if there are more than 10 of them, we can only run. Each of them has powerful battle prowess, and it's easy for them to reach the 5th level of the God of War pagoda. After listening to their explanations, Yi Chen more or less understood the situation in the hunting battlefield. Alright, let's see how many teams are in the hunting battlefield. Huang Hengfei activated the light screen on his badge. After a few clicks, the names of the teams were displayed, with the number of people behind each team. There are a total of 24 teams, 110 people. The Devil Spear Battle Team is also here. They killed one of our members last time. This time, we must make them pay. The Devil Spear Battle Team was a battle team made up of demons. They were in the demon god Paradise, the arch-enemy of the Paradise of the Gods. Bang! Bang! Just as Huang Hengfei was looking at the light screen of his emblem, at the edge of the dense mass of asteroids, dozens of huge asteroids suddenly exploded. What appeared in the line of sight of the 5 people were insects that had been magnified countless times. These insects looked like centipedes, longhorn beetles, ladybugs, moths, locusts, and some even looked like they were pieced together by many insects. The smallest of them was the size of a calf, while the largest was the size of a small mountain. Each of their bodies contained an astonishing amount of energy. This energy was so strong that it was like a star. Not good. It's a godworm. Li Wei was shocked. The insects in the hunting battlefield were god insects. It was said that god insects were creatures modified by true gods. The power of true gods could turn a deer into a horse and turn stone into gold. Modifying ordinary insects into god insects was as easy as lifting one's hand. Modified god insects were no longer ordinary insects. Their intelligence was not high, but they possessed frightening battle power. Moreover, they could devour the flesh and essence of life and death kings and evolve themselves without any need for cultivation. There are more than 10 godworms here. We're not a match for them. Run. Huang Hengfei made a prompt decision and gave the order to escape. We can't run. There are a few behind us. Just as Wei Dong turned around, he saw several vicious godworms flying in his direction. The fastest was a locust-shaped godworm. With a flap of its wings, it instantly appeared in front of Wei Dong and slashed with its sickle-like claws. Fortunately, Wei Dong's reaction was fast enough. He raised his long blade and blocked the claw. However, he was blasted away, his body flickering chaotically. Kill our way out. Huang Hengfei's strength was the strongest. His weapon was a huge iron hammer. With a swing of the hammer, thunder rumbled. The locust's body was blown away, but it didn't die. Such a powerful defense? Yi Chen was astonished. These godworms were not only fast, but their defense was also ridiculously powerful. Moreover, they had a shocking wild instinct that seemed to be able to see through weaknesses. All of a sudden, all the godworms pounced toward the 5. How unlucky. If we don't pay a price this time, we won't be able to escape. A bitter smile appeared on Huang Hengfei's face. In the battlefield of hunting, the chances of encountering more than 10 godworms at once were very low. Most of the time, there would be 1 or 2 or even 5 or 6. Only at the edge of the godworms' nests would one encounter more than 10. Let's see if I can restrain them. As he spoke, Yi Chen's aura surged, and he unleashed his sword domain. Bzzz. Heaven and earth went still, and the incoming godworms slowed down by 1,000 times, as if they were moving in slow motion. What's going on? How come they're so slow? They're so slow. I can attack them dozens of times in an instant. Huang Hengfei's group of 4 was still in a daze. These godworms were terrifying not only because of their powerful defenses, but also because of their incredible speed. Yi Chen, Your sword domain actually contains the power of stopping space? Huang Hengfei finally reacted. I can't believe it. He looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen said, There's no time to lose. Hurry up and attack them. The sword domain's effect was even better than he had imagined. Although these godworms possessed shocking power, they didn't have a domain. For example, in the divine trial field, if Ajo hadn't had a domain, Yi Chen could have used his sword domain to crush him without any effort. Having a domain was very important. Only with a domain equivalent to Yi Chen's could one use it to counteract the power of stopping space. After all, stopping space had its limit. Great. Everyone, hurry up and kill these godworms. Huang Hengfei was pleasantly surprised. He hadn't expected Yi Chen to be proficient in the profound of space, which was known as one of the most powerful profounds for a reason. It could adapt to almost any environment. In the past, when they encountered so many godworms, they wouldn't even think of fighting. It wasn't just because the godworms were powerful, but also because the reward for killing them wasn't much. One godworm was only worth 10 shinbi, and killing a few wouldn't be worth more than a few dozen shinbi. It wasn't worth it, but now that they had the power of stopping space, they could kill as many as they wanted. After all, a single godworm wasn't worth much, but a dozen or so. If they killed 100, it would be worth 1,000 shinbi, which was equivalent to killing a member of another paradise. Haha, I killed one. I killed one too. Although the godworm's defenses were powerful, they couldn't withstand countless attacks. Gradually, they died one by one, unable to resist. Chapter 1090. In a short while, all 19 godworms had been killed, and the Flying Spirit Battle Squad's total income had risen to 190 shinbi. In the hunting battlefield, regardless of whether it was an individual kill or a team kill, the shinbi obtained would be considered as the total income. For the time being, they wouldn't be able to get a share of it. Only after they left the hunting battlefield would they be able to get their share of shinbi based on their contributions. Yi Chen looked at his own contribution. It was as high as 40, and his total contribution was 50. Such a high contribution was understandable. After all, without Yi Chen's split sword domain, there was no way for them to contend against 19 godworms. They could only run away. Of course, this was only temporary, and it would gradually decrease. After all, Yi Chen couldn't maintain such a high contribution forever. The second highest contribution was Huang Hengfei and Lin Xiaofeng, both 3. Wei Dong and Li Wei were 2. Although the 4 of them did not put in much effort, according to the ratio, Huang Hengfei and Li Xiaofeng would each get 11 shinbi, while Wei Dong and Li Wei would get 7 or 8 shinbi each. This was free money, so it could be considered as extra income. A bottle of ice and fire 9-layered heavens was earned. In the past, we would only get 1 or 200 shinbi each time we hunted. Now that we have the power of space freeze, we can kill as many as we want. Huang Hengfei and the others believed that their luck had come, and the key to this luck was Yi Chen. There were many godworms in the hunting battlefield. After 3 days, the 5 of them encountered 9 batches of godworms. However, these 9 batches only had 7 godworms at most, far from being comparable to the first batch they encountered. Still, the 9 batches added up to 35 godworms, which was equivalent to 350 shinbi. Adding the initial 190 godworms, they had a total of 540 godworms. This was definitely a considerable amount of income. The Devil Spear Battle Squad is within 100 million li of us. The Paradise badge on the back of Huang Hengfei's hand suddenly flashed a frightening red. It turned out that there was a revenge mode in the hunting battlefield. When a member of your team was killed by another team, the Paradise badge would remind you when the enemy team was within 100 million li of you. Of course, it was limited to one time. If you failed this time, the Paradise badge wouldn't remind you next time. How strong is the Devil Spear Battle Squad? Yi Chen asked. Lin Xiaofeng said in a low voice, very, very strong. Last time, the Devil Spear battle team only had 3 people. It seems that before this they lost 2 people. But with just 3 people, they were able to suppress our Flying Spirit battle team. In the end, they even killed one of our team members. If it weren't for a group of godworms being attracted to us at the critical moment, we wouldn't have had a chance to escape. So strong. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. The Flying Spirit battle team was already one of the top teams among the beginner teams. This Devil Spear battle team was also a beginner team, but they could actually suppress the Flying Spirit battle team with just 3 people. They are indeed very strong. None of the 3 members of the Magic Spear Squad who are fighting against us are weaker than me, and the captain of the Magic Spear Squad is even stronger than me. Damn it, they must have replenished their members this time. We don't have the slightest chance to take revenge. Huang Hengfei clenched his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. It's not like we don't have a chance. We can take them down one by one. Yi Chen said in a low voice. It's too dangerous. Although I really want to take revenge, it is not the time yet. Huang Hengfei thought for a moment and decided not to attack the Magic Spear Squad first. It was not that he was afraid of the Magic Spear Squad, but if he fought with them, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Wei Dong and Li Wei, who were slightly weaker, might fall. No worries, let me see where they are first. Coming to the hunting battlefield, they naturally had to hunt the enemies. There was no reason for Yi Chen to retreat. His forehead cracked open, and a silver vertical eye appeared. Yi Chen scanned the surroundings with his soul eye. Everything within 100 million li was within his range. Soul eye? Huang Hengfei and the other 3 were shocked. The soul eye was one of the most frightening special abilities. Although it could not increase a martial artist's power, it could allow them to have an unimaginable observation power. Even if a normal life and death realm king trained a secret soul art, their soul sensing range would only be a few 100,000 li, or even a few million li. However, the observation range of the soul eye could reach up to 100 million li. At the speed of light, it would still take half an hour to travel 100 million li found them. Within the range of the soul eye, Yi Chen saw 5 people. These 5 people were emitting a frightening demonic power fluctuation, and none of them was weaker than Huang Hengfei. 2 of them seemed to be even stronger than Huang Hengfei. On the back of their hands were black demonic god marks, which seemed to be the insignia of the demonic god Paradise. Is it them? Yi Chen waved his hand, and a light screen appeared in the void, showing the figures of 5 people. Yes, it is them. Lin Xiaofeng recognized them at a glance. Indeed, they have already replenished their team. 3 people are already so hard to deal with, but 5 people our chances are very slim. Huang Hengfei clenched his fists. Yi Chen thought for a while and said, they will definitely encounter other teams. While they are fighting with other teams, we can quickly rush over and join hands with that team to destroy the Demon Spear Squad. I don't think they will reject such a good opportunity. In the hunting battlefield, everyone was both a hunter and a prey. It was common for hunters to join hands with other hunters, and it was normal for a team to be annihilated. This idea is not bad. Alright, if I don't take revenge, I will never feel happy. Whether we can succeed or not depends on this. Xiaofeng, Wei Dong, Li Wei, what do you think? Huang Hengfei looked at Lin Xiaofeng and the other 2. Naturally, we will take revenge. Lin Xiaofeng's eyes were cold. Wei Dong and Li Wei also nodded, each of them looking serious. On an emerald green planet, 5 young people appeared. These 5 people were all demons, and the demonic power on their bodies was more tyrannical than pure Jin Yuan, and it had a destructive power. One of the fat young people grinned and said, if it weren't for the god insect's attack last time, we would have definitely annihilated the Flying Spirit Squad. Moreover, there were only 3 of us last time, and this time there are 5. I just noticed that the Flying Spirit Squad has entered, but it won't be easy to meet them. Another young man with 2 horns on his head said slowly. The Flying Spirit Squad is nothing to worry about. It would be best if we meet them, and we will send them to heaven. It doesn't matter if we don't meet them. Among the 24 teams, except for a few relatively strong ones, the other teams will only have a dead end if they meet us. Eagle Eye, it is time for you to show off again. Among the team, the burly demons with the most powerful aura glanced at the tall and thin demons beside him. The tall and thin demons were demons of the Eagle Demon bloodline, and they were the eyes of the Demon Spear Squad. They were born with a very strong observation ability. Once they used the Eagle Eye talent, they could observe things within 10 million miles without being easily detected. The hunting battlefield seemed to be boundless, but it actually had a limit. The Eagle Eye talent was like a fish in water, and it didn't consume a lot of energy. No problem. Eagle Eye nodded. He took a deep breath, and as his demonic power surged, a huge eagle head appeared behind him. The two eagle eyes were extremely sharp, as if they could see through space and time. 8 million miles away, there is a recently broken planet. It should be caused by a battle. Let's go there. After a long time, Eagle Eye scattered the eagle head phantom behind him. A recently broken planet? It must not have been gone for long. Let's go. The 5 people used their demonic power, and like 5 beams of light, they flew in that direction. These 5 people didn't know that behind them there were 5 people following them, maintaining a distance of tens of millions of miles. That tall and skinny demon is the Eagle-Eyed Devil King. He has the innate talent of the eagle eyes, and his battle strength is not too strong, but it is about the same as Lin Xiaofeng, and that fat demon is very troublesome. He is called the Devouring Heaven Devil King. The fat on his body can offset most of the attacks, and the rest of the attacks will be directly swallowed by him, and then spit out to attack the enemy. His battle strength is even above the eagle-eyed Heavenly King. The most powerful is their captain, the tall and sturdy demon race stone statue Heavenly King. His protective magic power and physical defense are inconceivably strong. I exchanged dozens of moves with him, and was unable to break through his defense even once. As for the other 2, they are newcomers, I do not know. Huang Hengfei analyzed the Demon Spear Squad situation. When the time comes, leave the Stone Statue King to me. The 4 of you and the other team can deal with the 4 of them. There shouldn't be a problem, right? Yi Chen had created the White Dragon Annihilation and was looking for a powerful opponent to test it out. Without the Stone Statue King, we won't have a problem, but is the Stone Statue King that easy to deal with? Huang Hengfei looked at Yi Chen hesitantly. Don't worry. Unless he has the power of the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda, he can't do anything to me. In the past 2 months, Yi Chen had improved a lot. If he were to challenge the God of War Pagoda again, he had more than a 50% chance of passing the 6th level and reaching the 7th level. Alright, then be careful. Huang Hengfei did not know exactly how powerful Yi Chen was, but seeing how confident Yi Chen was, he could tell that it was not groundless. He could not help but nod. Leader, I found them. They are fighting with the 3 god bugs. They destroyed many planets along the way. The eagle-eyed Demon King's face lit up. Haha, looks like the hunting battlefield is also taking care of us. Let's get closer first and watch the tigers fight. After they kill all the god bugs, we will attack them in one go. The Stone Statue King laughed loudly. 1,000,000 miles away, 5 young people were fighting with the 3 god bugs. These 5 young people were not members of the Paradise of Gods, nor were they members of the Demon God Paradise. They were members of the Barbarian God Paradise. The Barbarian God was the true god of the barbarian race. Although there were barbarians in Elysium, they were actually hybrids with the blood of the barbarian race. Lu Tai, bad news. We have been targeted by another team. They are approaching us rapidly. They are less than 300,000 miles away from us. The big-headed barbarian young man said anxiously. What team is it? The young man called Lu Tai was a huge man. He was wrapped in chains and had a white bone necklace around his neck. He held a huge mace in his hand and looked very wild. It seems to be the Demon Spear Squad. Chapter 1091. Damn it, it's actually the Magic Spear Battle Team. The Devil Spear Battle Team was definitely a strong team in the primary hunting battlefield. The number of teams that were stronger than this team could be counted with a single hand. Captain, what should we do? The barbarians loved to fight, but they also knew the difference between them. It's impossible to escape now. Kill the godworms with all your strength and fight the Devil Spear Battle Team. The sound of flowing iron was loud and clear. Hundreds of thousands of miles could be covered in just a breath's time. Running away would only cause them to die even more miserably. Boom! The 5 of them completely erupted with power and attacked the divine insect crazily. Berserk energy flew in all directions like a cosmic storm. It had to be said that when people were in desperate straits, the power they could unleash was extremely terrifying. Normally, when facing 3 divine insects, it would take them a long time to finish them off. But this time, it only took them a dozen or so breaths of time to kill them. As expected of the Iron Hammer Battle Team, you killed 3 godworms in such a short time. In the entire elementary hunting battlefield, your Iron Hammer Battle Team can rank at least in the top 15. A group of 5 people appeared in the line of sight of Lu Tai and the others. It was the Demon Spear Battle Team. The Devil Spear Battle Team wasn't in a hurry to attack. Otherwise, the Iron Hammer Battle Team wouldn't have had the time to kill the divine insect. If they ran at full speed, they would only need a single breath of time. Heavenly Stone Statue King, what are you trying to do? Lu Tai looked at the Heavenly Stone Statue King with a solemn expression. What do you think we're trying to do? The Heavenly Stone Statue laughed malevolently. When Lu Tai heard this, he knew that today would not be good, and shouted angrily, "Your Devil Spear Squad, don't be too arrogant. Although our Iron Hammer Squad is not as good as yours, but we are not fish on the chopping block. You can kill us at will. If you want to eat the Iron Hammer Squad, you have to see if your teeth are good enough. Be careful not to break your teeth. I have long heard that Iron Hammer Battle Team's captain, Flowing Iron, is a stubborn man. Today, I finally get to see it for myself," a young man with 2 horns on his head said with a disdainful smile. "Ha!" The other members of the Devil Spear team laughed wantonly. The Stone Statue Heavenly King said with ill intentions, "Our Devil Spear Battle Team never returns empty-handed, but I can also give you a chance to choose. It depends on whether you can grasp it or not." "Opportunity? Tell me." Lu Tai's face darkened. The Stone Statue Heavenly King stretched out a finger. "1, no need to say anything. Everyone, let's fight. My Demon Spear Battle Team has a 90% chance of annihilating all of you. If you don't believe me, you can try." The Flowing Iron Battle Team was silent. It was obvious that they didn't have the confidence to defeat the Magic Spear Battle Team. Whether they had the strength or not wasn't something that could be said. It was something that could only be achieved through fighting. In the primary hunting battlefield, the Magic Spear Battle Team had almost no opponents other than a few natural enemies. Hand over 2 people for us to kill, and the rest can leave." "Alright, you guys can choose." The Heavenly Stone Statue King sneered. Lu Tai took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with anger as he said, "Dream on. If you want to fight, let's fight. Do you think I don't know that you have no intention of letting us go?" If they handed over 2 people, they would only be left with 3 people. They would be even more unable to contend against the Devil Spear Squad. This way, the Devil Spear Squad would be able to deal with them effortlessly. It's truly a pity. Originally, the 3 of you would have been able to live a bit longer. The Heavenly King Stone Statue shook his head. He raised his palm high and waved it. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" 4 streaks of light rushed out and attacked the Iron Hammer Battle Team. "All hail the god of barbarians! Fight with all your might!" Lu Tai roared as he raised his mace and rushed out as well. The great battle erupted and instantly entered a white-hot state. "They're fighting. Full speed ahead." Millions of miles away, Yi Chen's eyes flashed coldly as he shouted in a low voice. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, he was the first to fly towards the battlefield. We will definitely succeed in our revenge this time. Let's go. Huang Hengfei and the other three's hearts were racing. At the same time, they were filled with excitement. They had never thought of killing the Devil Spear Squad, but this time they might succeed. The 5 of them were extremely fast. They could fly hundreds of thousands of miles in a single breath. Millions of miles wasn't very far. 8 million miles. 5 million miles. 3 million miles. 1 million miles. 500,000 miles. Soon, the 5 of them were less than 500,000 miles away from the battlefield. Oh no, another team is coming. Damn it. Just as the Heavenly Stone Statue King was about to join the battle, he suddenly turned his head and looked at the starry sky. In his sight, 5 figures were flying towards him. Flying Spirit Squad, you are courting death. The Heavenly Stone Statue King's body shone with a grayish-white luster, making him look like a stone statue. Outside his body, a grayish-white light shield appeared. He was already prepared for a fierce battle, and his killing intent was soaring. Heavenly Stone Statue King, you didn't expect this day, did you? Before he arrived, Huang Hengfei's voice was already transmitted over with the help of his quintessential essence. Flying Spirit King, do you really think that your puny Flying Spirit Squad can compete with our Devil Spear Squad? The Heavenly Stone Statue King's face was very ugly. Although he didn't think that the Flying Spirit Squad could bring any danger to them, at least there would be some variables. This was not what he liked. He liked to control the overall situation. Huang Hengfei sneered. My Flying Spirit Squad is indeed not a match for the Devil Spear Squad, but your enemies are not just us. Flowing Iron, how about our 2 squads work together to annihilate the Devil Spear Squad? That's perfect. Flying Spirit King, this time, my Iron Hammer Squad owes you a favor. We will definitely repay it in the future. The members of Flowing Iron and Iron Hammer Squad were overjoyed. Originally, if the Flying Spirit Squad didn't show up, the possibility of them dying was as high as 90%. But now it was different. With the 2 squads working together, even the Devil Spear Squad wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. We can talk about the favor later. Right now, we only have one goal, and that is to annihilate the Devil Spear Squad. As he spoke, Huang Hengfei took out his big iron hammer and flew towards the battlefield, intending to help the Iron Hammer Squad. Stay here. The Heavenly Stone Statue King roared angrily and flashed in front of Huang Hengfei. Your opponent is me. With a flash of sword light, Yi Chen appeared instantly and slashed at the Heavenly Stone Statue King. Bang! Qi exploded, and the Heavenly Stone Statue King was caught off guard and was sent flying. Holding the dragon spring sword in his hand, Yi Chen said to Huang Hengfei and the other 3, you guys go help the Iron Hammer Squad. Leave the Heavenly Stone Statue King to me. He could tell that the Heavenly Stone Statue King was very powerful. If he didn't stop him, the Flying Spirit Squad and the Iron Hammer Squad would probably only be able to contend with the Devil Spear Squad. Alright, I'll leave it to you. Huang Hengfei and the other 3 entered the battlefield without any obstructions. With the help of the Flying Spirit Squad, the Iron Hammer Squad instantly relaxed. After all, no matter how powerful the Devil Spear Squad was, there were only 4 of them left without the Heavenly Stone Statue King. If 9 of them still couldn't contend against 4 of them, they might as well find a piece of tofu and kill themselves. You guys are too optimistic. I, the silver-horned giant demon king, am not someone you can defeat. The horned young demons shouted loudly. His body rapidly expanded, growing from 2 meters tall to 5 meters tall. His berserk magic power was like a raging sea, surging violently. His magic power reserve was more than 10 times that of the other members of the Devil Spear Squad. Even the Heavenly Stone Statue King couldn't compare to him in terms of magic power reserve. What? It's the giant demon clan. Huang Hengfei narrowed his eyes. Demons were a general term. There were many subraces, such as the flower demons, the demon beast clan, the eagle demons, and so on. The giant demons were a very powerful subrace among the demons. The giant demons were born with extraordinary strength. At the same realm, the giant demons could fight against many. Their magic power reserve was even more astonishing, more than 10 times that of the demons of the same realm. Flowing iron, let's work together. Huang Hengfei felt that he wasn't a match for the silver-horned giant demon king. That's what I was thinking. Flowing iron's weapon was a mace, while Huang Hengfei's weapon was a big iron hammer. Both of them had very violent attacks. Only the two of them could deal with the silver-horned giant demon king. However, the silver-horned giant demon king's strength was clearly beyond their imagination. Even though it was 1 against 2, it still attacked more than it defended. The burst of powerful magic power made them feel very uncomfortable. Giant demons. Yi Chen also saw the situation over here. The troll emperor he killed was from the giant demon clan. His magic power was extremely dense and almost endless. He didn't expect to meet another giant demons here. You guys didn't expect this, right? Last time, my magic spear battle team lost 2 members, but this time, our new members are stronger than before. Especially this silver-horned giant demon king. He's not much weaker than me. He alone can fight against a few of you. The stone statue heavenly king sneered. As long as we get rid of you, the others are nothing to worry about. Yi Chen said indifferently. Haha, this is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Although my magic spear battle team isn't the strongest in the primary hunting battlefield, in terms of individual strength, I, the stone statue heavenly king, can at least rank in the top 3. You want to get rid of me? Dream on. The stone statue heavenly king first laughed, then said eerily, but I have the same idea as you. After I get rid of you, I'll get rid of the flying spirit battle team and the iron hammer battle team. Thinking about it, getting rid of these 2 teams will definitely bring us a lot of money. Heaven Absolute Sword. Yi Chen didn't waste time talking to the stone statue heavenly king. He immediately used the Heaven Absolute Sword, which was more powerful than merciless water and fire. The blurry sword light instantly ignored the distance between them and heavily slashed at the stone statue heavenly king's protective demonic chi. The stone statue heavenly king was already prepared. He crossed his arms and blocked the sword. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. The protective demonic chi was forcibly cut open, and the sharp sword light poured out with irresistible force. What? The stone statue heavenly king felt his arms tremble, and his bones were about to break. The next moment, he was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Stone statue heavenly king, you're only SOSO. Yi Chen followed closely, and the Heaven Absolute Sword was used again. Don't look down on me. The stone statue heavenly king roared, and he spat out a vast gray air current. This gray air current looked very heavy, as if it could crush a mountain. Once it was spat out, it covered the heaven and earth and engulfed Yi Chen. Crack, crack. In an instant, Yi Chen's entire body was petrified, and he became a stone statue. My petrification talent can petrify anything. Die. The stone statue heavenly king seized the opportunity and punched at Yi Chen. As long as this punch hit, Yi Chen would definitely be smashed to pieces. White dragon destroys the world. However, the next moment, the stone layer on Yi Chen's skin cracked. It turned out that Yi Chen's protective sword will had blocked the petrification power, and it couldn't enter his body. Swinging his sword, Yi Chen used the white dragon destroys the world, which he had created recently. A white dragon swooped down, and it bombarded the stone statue heavenly king's body. Chapter 1092. Boom. Boom. The sound of explosions rang out continuously. The white dragon formed from sword chi possessed astonishing destructive power. The stone statue heavenly king was sent flying into the air. Not only did its protective mana shatter, but the stone defensive layer on its skin also cracked. The disintegrating white dragon transformed into countless white sword chi that invaded through the cracks, destroying everything in its path. How could this be? The stone Heavenly King tried its best to use its mana to resist the white sword chi invading its body. However, the white sword chi was 10 times more terrifying than it had imagined. Not only was it incomparably sharp, but it would also explode when it encountered obstacles. Self-petrification. The stone Heavenly King wasn't an ordinary person. At the crucial moment, it used its petrification talent on itself, turning into a stone statue. The next moment, the stone statue shattered, and a meatball flew out. That meatball was a part of the stone Heavenly King's body, the part that hadn't been corroded by the sword chi. The meatball expanded, and the stone Heavenly King reformed its body. It actually destroyed 10% of my mana. And this is because I reacted quickly and petrified myself in time, giving up on being corroded by the sword chi. The stone Heavenly King's pupils shrank to a point. It was extremely wary of Yi Chen. An ordinary swordsman's sword chi also had the ability to annihilate, but it wasn't obvious. It was just a bit sharper. Yi Chen's sword chi was not only sharp, but it would also explode when it encountered obstacles. If his guess was correct, this move contained the opposing water profound and fire profound. Self-petrification, not bad. Yi Chen understood the effect of white dragon extinguishes the world very well. Compared to merciless water and fire, white dragon extinguishes the world had entered the microscopic realm. Even a trace of sword chi would be extremely terrifying. When it invaded the opponent's body, it would cause great destruction. Merciless water and fire couldn't be so detailed. It did have the destructive power, but it was much weaker in terms of details. I admit that I have underestimated you, but this is the end. The stone Heavenly King took a deep breath and instantly entered the Anata realm. A layer of silver appeared on the surface of his stone skin, and his pupils also turned silver. This was the deeper use of the Anata body. At the same time, a set of stone armor appeared on his body. This was the high-level use of the petrification talent, petrification armor. Not only could it block part of the damage, but it could also absorb it. It had the same effect as a 6th-grade spirit body. Xiao. After entering the Anata state, the stone statue king's speed increased greatly. A silver-gray light flashed, and it instantly appeared in front of Yi Chen, punching out. This punch contained the power of petrification, and once it hit, it could petrify anyone from the inside out. It was no small matter, and even if the enemy could block it, they would be corroded by the power of petrification. However, the moment he got close to Yi Chen, a mysterious power spread out with Yi Chen as the center. He clearly felt that his speed had slowed down by more than 10 times, as if he was moving in slow motion. The feeling was extremely uncomfortable, and he couldn't use his strength. Profound weight domain. Not daring to be careless, the heavenly stone statue king released its unique domain, heavy domain. The mysterious gravity field contained a gravitational force, which was at least 1/10 of that of a normal white dwarf star. If it were a king warrior of the first or second sky of life and death realm, he or she would have been crushed into pieces the moment they entered the mysterious gravity field. However, in front of Yi Chen's sword realm, it could only slightly resist. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Chen waved out 3 sword strikes in a row, each one a white dragon destroyer. Boom! Boom! The heavenly stone statue king was blown back, and the petrified armor on its body cracked. It's the space stop power. No wonder you're so arrogant. The heavenly stone statue king was extremely annoyed. If Yi Chen didn't have the space stop power, he would have some confidence in exhausting him to death. But now, he couldn't do anything to the latter, and he couldn't even get close to Yi Chen. What's your name? Perhaps we can work together. As long as Flying Spirit Battle Team gives up on helping Iron Hammer Battle Team, I can give you 500,000 yuan stones. As far as he was concerned, Yi Chen was so powerful that he definitely had the right to speak in the Flying Spirit battle team. 500,000 yuan stones? What? You carry yuan stones with you? Entering the hunting battlefield, life and death were unpredictable. Therefore, the majority of people wouldn't carry any valuables, only empty storage rings. You don't have to worry about this. As long as you agree, I will pay you immediately. But, you have to tell your battle team members to leave this place first. 500,000 yuan stones, don't you think it's too little? Yi Chen sneered. 500,000 yuan stones is indeed not much, but you have to understand that even if we continue to fight, we might not necessarily lose. These 500,000 yuan stones are completely free for you. The Heavenly Stone Statue King had decided to numb Yi Chen first, then gather the strength of the team and take care of him in one fell swoop. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself for being too greedy and not knowing when to retreat. That might not be the case. Moreover, after killing you, I can also get 500,000 yuan stones. As he spoke, 3 different colored flowers appeared above Yi Chen's head. As soon as these 3 flowers appeared, Yi Chen's essence, qi, and spirit immediately multiplied, and a divine light shot out from his eyes. 3 flowers borrowing Dao. Battle power multiplied. Die. It was the same white dragon destroyer, but this time, a white halo appeared on the white dragon's body. With a flash, it attacked the Heavenly Stone Statue King's body. Rumble! A sky-shaking sound exploded, and the Heavenly Stone Statue King's entire body was submerged in the white light. Ah, damn it! The Heavenly Stone Statue King was like a trapped beast. Both of his hands crazily waved, leaving a gray streak in the air. The white light seemed to have traces of being torn apart. Primordial Spirit Lock. There was no way Yi Chen would give the Heavenly Stone Statue King a second chance. A golden light flashed between his eyebrows, and a golden halo flew out, disappearing into the white light. No! The Heavenly Stone Statue King screamed, as if it had suffered a serious injury. A cold light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes, and he attacked with another white dragon destroyer. Pup! This time, the white dragon completely shattered the Heavenly Stone Statue King's body, and the other party's voice came to an abrupt stop. What? The captain is dead. Impossible, how could the captain die? In terms of individual strength, the captain is at least ranked in the top few in the elementary hunting battlefield. Even if the captain is not a match for the other party, he should at least be able to escape. With the death of the Heavenly Stone Statue King, the other members of the Devil Spear battle team panicked. Since Yi Chen could kill the Heavenly Stone Statue King, he could definitely kill any one of them. In addition, they were outnumbered, and the gap between them was even greater. Run! The silver-horned giant Devil King was the first to escape. He shook off Huang Hengfei and Lu Tai and fled into the distance. Where are you going? Although the silver-horned giant Devil King had shaken off Huang Hengfei and Lu Tai, Yi Chen still had his eyes on him. The distance between the two continued to decrease. You can't kill me. I'm a genius of demons. I can't die. The silver-horned giant Devil King was filled with fear as he roared. The Heavenly Stone Statue King is already dead. If you don't go down to accompany him, that would be too much. In that instant, the sword domain covered the other party. Yi Chen first used a Sky Absolute Sword attack to cut open his defense, then threw out a white dragon destroyer slash. I can't accept this. The silver-horned giant Devil King was a bit weaker than the Heavenly Stone Statue King. Under Yi Chen's all-out attack, there was no way he could survive. He fell instantly, and his storage ring was taken over by Yi Chen. After getting the storage ring, Yi Chen didn't even look at it and turned back. Even without Yi Chen, the Flying Spirit battle team and the Iron Hammer battle team had the absolute advantage. The first to die was the Eagle Eye King, followed by the Demon Spear King. Finally, only the Heaven-Devouring Demon King was left. Even if I die, I'll drag you guys down with me. The heaven-devouring demon king was extremely ferocious. He swallowed all the attacks of the 9 and then self-detonated. Boom. It was like a star exploding. The light produced by the self-detonation drowned everyone. Although Yi Chen was far away, he could feel the terrifying power of the self-detonation. His body kept retreating. Finally, the self-detonation light dimmed. Besides Yi Chen, the other 9 were in a sorry state. Some of the closer ones even had their bodies damaged, smoke rising from their bodies. This guy is simply a human-shaped planet. Huang Hengfei muttered. Thank you, Flying Spirit Battle Team, for your help. My Iron Hammer Battle Team will never forget this favor. If there is a chance in the future, we will definitely repay you. But we still have some matters to attend to, so we'll take our leave first. Lu Tai winked at the other members of the Iron Hammer Battle Team and shot out. Farewell. The other 4 members of the Iron Hammer Battle Team also shot out, their speed reaching the limit. What's going on with this Iron Hammer Battle Team? The Demon Spear Battle Team has already been annihilated, so why are they running so fast? Li Wei was dumbfounded. Huang Hengfei smiled. They're afraid that we'll wipe them out as well. After all, Yi Chen's strength is too powerful. Even the Stone Statue King and the Silver-Horned Giant Demon King were killed. I see. Wei Dong suddenly understood. They hadn't thought of this point and couldn't help but sigh at Lu Tai's cautiousness. Everyone said that the barbarian race was thick-skinned, but it seemed like this was not the case. They did the right thing. If it were me, I would also lead my team and leave immediately. Yi Chen smiled. No one would like to have their fate in the hands of others. Haha, Captain, Yi Chen, we actually got 18,000 Shinbi after annihilating the Demon Spear Battle Team. Looks like the Iron Hammer Battle Team only got 2,000 Shinbi. Annihilating a team, no matter if they were working with other teams or just their own team, the reward would be doubled. The Demon Spear Battle Team had 5 members, so each member would get 1,000 Shinbi. 5 people would get 5,000 Shinbi, so double the reward would be 20,000 Shinbi. It's all thanks to Yi Chen. Huang Hengfei couldn't help but sigh at Yi Chen's strength. They were both at the 6th level of the God of War Pagoda, but he was much weaker than Yi Chen. Yi Chen probably already had the strength to pass the 6th level. I can't do this without everyone. As he spoke, Yi Chen activated his badge. It showed that he had earned 18,540 Shinbi. His contribution was ridiculously high, reaching 35 Shinbi. His total contribution was less than 50 Shinbi. In other words, out of these 18,540 Shinbi, he could earn about 13,000 Shinbi. This was a huge windfall. One had to know that under normal circumstances, a low-level battle team could only earn a few hundred Shinbi per hunt. 4 hunts a year would only earn 1 or 2,000 Shinbi. Huff. Yi Chen let out a deep breath. He could already see his strength improving by leaps and bounds. With so many Shinbi, what was there to worry about? Chapter 1093. They were not allowed to stay in the hunting grounds for more than a week. Over the next few days, Yi Chen's team hunted a large number of divine worms and earned 19,500 divine coins. By the end of the last day, they had earned 20,000 divine coins. Including 10% of the team reward, it was 22,000 divine coins. It was a huge harvest. At the entrance of the hunting tower, Yi Chen's team walked out. Haha, let's go have a drink. This feels great. Huang Hengfei's face was flushed red. In this hunt, Yi Chen's contribution was the highest, with 36 points, while his was the second highest, with 5 points. According to the distribution, he would receive 2,200 Shinbi, which was more than his annual income. I'll treat you to 10 bottles of ice and fire 9 heavens each. Yi Chen had earned 15,840 divine coins in total. His income was close to that of a high-level member. It's your turn to treat. You're a tycoon. Li Wei giggled. After drinking for half a day, the 5 separated and went about their own business. On the way, Yi Chen met Lu Wenxiu. She told him that Audiobook had reached the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda and had become a member of the Fierce Wind Battle Team 3 days ago. Although the Fierce Wind Battle Team was not as strong as the Flying Spirit Battle Team, it was still one of the top 6 battle teams in the Paradise of Gods. Their leader was not much weaker than Huang Hengfei. Looks like Audio's spear arts have reached a certain level. Yi Chen was not surprised at all. Audio's martial arts phantom would become stronger with every additional martial art. His potential was huge. The path of cultivation was about relaxation and tension. After resting for 3 days, Yi Chen began to cultivate. The first to cultivate was naturally the White Dragon Annihilation. A martial art that contained 2 profound meanings could reach the level of the Sky Extinction Sword, which was already the limit. There was not much room for improvement. However, the White Dragon Annihilation was different. It contained the profound meanings of water and fire. Water and fire opposed each other, so there was still a lot of room for improvement. As Yi Chen was already a mid-level member, he only needed to pay 70 divine coins to cultivate on the 3rd level of the Martial Technique Pagoda, 30 less than ordinary members. 4 days had passed, and Yi Chen had once again raised his White Dragon Annihilation to a whole new level. It had almost reached the limits of the water and fire profound meanings. In the 3rd floor of the Martial Skill Tower, cultivating martial arts was 100 times more effective than cultivating in the outside world. 4 days was equivalent to 400 days, which was more than a year. To Yi Chen, 1 year was more effective than 2 or 3 years for others. White Dragon, destroy the world. With a swing of the sword, the White Dragon was like a dragon that could destroy the world. Everywhere it went, everything exploded and was annihilated. It was a scene of doomsday that ordinary martial arts would not be able to achieve. It's finally done. Letting out a long breath, Yi Chen felt as if a huge burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The current White Dragon annihilating the world was several times stronger than it was 4 days ago. Even if the Heavenly Stone Statue King came back to life, it would not be able to block this sword. It would die in an instant. This sword was almost the limit of a second revolution martial art. As for the second transition martial arts, it was the grade of profound sense martial arts. Martial arts that contained a type of profoundness were considered as first transition martial art. It was a second-grade martial art that contained 2 types of martial arts. Martial arts that contained 3 types were rank 3 martial art. So on and so forth. Of course, in a battle between martial artists, it did not mean that a second transition martial art would be more powerful than a first transition martial art, and a third transition martial art would be more powerful than a second transition martial art. For example, although some people had created a second transition martial art, the fusion of the profoundness was not good enough, and they might not be able to compete with those who had used a first transition martial art to the limit. However, in terms of grade, a second transition martial art was naturally many times more powerful than a first transition martial art, and a third transition martial art was many times more powerful than a second transition martial art. As for momentary glory, it was an exception. Among the second transition martial arts, the White Dragon annihilating the world is already at the peak, and it is many times more powerful than ordinary second transition martial arts. Do I have to create a third transition martial art that contains 3 types of profoundness? Yi Chen muttered. No, the foundation is not enough. If I create a third transition martial art, it will only be a waste of time. Currently, only the White Dragon annihilating the world and Tianju sword are good enough. The other second transition martial arts have not matured yet. Fine, I will use the Destruction Sword intent as the essence and create some second transition sword moves. With the White Dragon annihilating the world and Tianju sword, the other second transition sword moves were no longer of much use, but they could be used to prepare for the third transition sword move. With a stronger foundation, everything he did would be as if the gods were helping him. The first to be tested was Autumn Water. Yi Chen wanted to raise its power to a new level. 3 days later, the new Gold Water Profound Sword move was created. However, it was no longer called Autumn Water, but Autumn Kill. Autumn was originally a bleak scene, and autumn represented gold. Therefore, Yi Chen named this sword move Autumn Kill. Autumn Kill used the destruction sword intent as the essence, and it displayed the killing intent of autumn to the extreme. With a swing of the sword, it was like the arrival of autumn, and all living things would inevitably enter their final stage. After autumn, it would be winter with no life. Another week later, a new second transition sword move was created. This time, it was the Wood and Fire Profound Sword move. Raging Fire Incinerating Spring. Spring represented wood, and summer represented fire. Blazing Fire Incinerating Spring meant that summer buried spring and used wood to fuel fire, making the fire even stronger. With a swing of the sword aura reached an extreme level. Although it did not have the desolate killing intent of Autumn Kill, it was more violent and powerful. If Blazing Fire Incinerating Spring was already domineering enough, then the Fire and Thunder Profound Sword move, Heavenly Thunder Earthly Fire, which took Yi Chen 10 whole days to create, was even more powerful. Thunder and fire had a lot of similarities. Both could cause all living things to burn. When the two were combined, there was nothing that could not be burned. It also had a strong defense-breaking attribute. If one was hit by this sword, even the undying body would not be able to withstand it. Without the sword intent to protect himself, even Yi Chen did not want to be hit by this sword. Although Yi Chen had 7 consummate profounds, when he combined some of them, the power he could bring out was just passable. The last sword move was the Gold Shadow Profound Life Snatching 1000. Life Snatching 1000 contained the Metal Profound and Shadow Profound. Among the 7 consummate profounds, the Shadow Profound was weaker than the other profounds in terms of offense. Therefore, it was not suitable to combine with the other profounds. The Metal Profound was extremely sharp, which could make up for some of the flaws in its offense. Life Snatching 1000 was not as powerful as the other sword moves, but its attacking range was much larger. Once the sword was shot out, thousands of golden lights would appear, making it hard to distinguish the real from the fake. 5 weeks had passed, and Yi Chen now had 6 sword moves, namely White Dragon Exterminating, Sky Absolute Sword, Autumn Kill, Blazing Fire Incinerating Spring, Heavenly Thunder Earthly Fire, and Life Snatching 1000. In addition, there was Momentary Brilliance, which was not a sword move but could freeze space. Although I don't have the Space Upanishad Tower, I have the Time Tower. I need to upgrade Momentary Brilliance. Among the 7 killing moves, Momentary Brilliance was still one of the best. However, compared to before, it was no longer supreme. At least, the power of White Dragon Exterminating was much more powerful than Momentary Brilliance, and the power of Heaven Absolute Sword was not weaker than Momentary Brilliance. The other killing moves were only slightly weaker. Currently, Momentary Brilliance only had the effect of freezing space, which was a super killing move. However, compared to the other killing moves, Momentary Brilliance had the greatest potential. It contained the Space Profound, and Yi Chen had only comprehended 70% of it. If he could reach 80% or 90%, the power of Momentary Brilliance would definitely increase by dozens of times. It was not an exaggeration to say that Momentary Brilliance, which only contained the Space Profound, was much more powerful than a rank 2 martial skill. Once he mastered the Space Profound, it could even be compared to a rank 3 martial skill. However, obviously, the Space Profound was too heaven-defying. There was no Space Upanishad Tower in the Paradise of Gods. Therefore, it was impossible to directly improve the Space Profound. Therefore, he could only start from Momentary Brilliance. By perfecting Momentary Brilliance, he could indirectly comprehend the Space Profound, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. As for the Time Tower, it had 2 floors in total. On the first floor, 1 day in the outside world was 10 days in the inside world. On the second floor, 1 day in the outside world was 100 days in the inside world. Compared to the Tower of Martial Skills, the Tower of Time was undoubtedly much more advanced. After all, the Tower of Martial Skills could only accelerate the cultivation speed of martial skills. By contrast, the Tower of Time could adjust the ratio of time and improve any aspect. The fee on the first floor of the Time Tower wasn't very high. Ordinary members would have to pay 30 shinbi a day, while intermediate members would have to pay 21 shinbi a day. On the second floor, the fee started to skyrocket. Ordinary members would have to pay 500 shinbi a day, while intermediate members would have to pay 350 shinbi a day. In the first 5 weeks and 35 days, Yi Chun had spent 2,450 shinbi. He had about 14,000 shinbi left, which was enough for him to stay on the second floor of the Time Tower for over a month. After leaving the Martial Skill Tower, Yi Chun went to the Time Tower. On the second floor of the Time Tower, Yi Chun constantly practiced momentary brilliance and sensed the mysteries of space. As days passed by, momentary brilliance made remarkable progress. 300 days in the second floor of the Tower of Time were equal to 3 days in the outside world. Although the power of momentary brilliance only increased by 2 times, its range had reached 15,000 m. Within 15,000 m, the moment momentary brilliance appeared, everything would be still. 1,000 days on the second floor of the Time Tower were equivalent to 10 days in the outside world. Yi Chen's space ultimacy had finally reached 80%. The brilliant momentary brilliance with 80% of space power Upanishad bloomed with a radiance that eclipsed the other killing technique. The range of its sword aura had reached 100,000 zhang, which was around 600 to 700 miles. Its attack power had increased tenfold, which was several times stronger than the White Dragon destroying the world. In the past, momentary glory could only be used in close combat. The range of 3,000 zhang was too small. As long as the enemy was careful and kept their distance from him, momentary glory would not be of much use. Unless the enemy's speed was much lower than his, he would be able to force the enemy into close combat. But now it was different. The range of 1,000 zhang still did not seem very big, but the improvement was not just a little bit. 1,500 days on the second floor of the Time Tower were equivalent to 15 days in the outside world. Yi Chen made persistent efforts to expand the range of momentary brilliance to 150,000 m, namely 500 miles. I'm almost at the bottom. It's just a waste of time. Yi Chen didn't waste any more time on momentary brilliance. He stopped cultivating. After all, good steel should be used on the edge of the blade. No matter how many shinbi he had, he couldn't afford to squander like this. He had spent over 5,000 shinbi in 15 days. Chapter 1094. Next, Yi Chen focused his mind on Zhen Yuan cultivation. Although martial arts were important in life and death realm, it was not something that could be improved just because one wanted to. Zhen Yuan cultivation was the most important. Although Yi Chen's strength had increased by several folds, he was still lacking when facing some powerful 6th layer life and death realm heavenly kings. Advancing from the 6th layer to the 7th layer was a huge hurdle. In order to advance to the 7th layer, one had to condense the Emperor's Mark. If one failed to condense the Emperor's Mark, it would be useless no matter how many years of bitter cultivation. Therefore, there were simply too many experts stuck at the 6th layer, and their strength was also uneven. The gap between the bottom and the peak was definitely dozens of folds. If 6th layer life and death realm heavenly kings were divided into grades, then Yi Chen would only be in the 4th or 5th layer. Above him were the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd layers. And the best way to increase one's strength was to increase one's cultivation base. Yi Chen's current cultivation base was only at the 4th layer. Once he reached the 5th layer, he would naturally surpass the 4th or 5th layer and enter the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd layers, which was much better than creating martial arts. Under normal circumstances, Yi Chen had just reached the fourth sky of life and death realm, and if he wanted to break through to the fifth sky, he would need at least 5 years, or even 10 years. If he wanted to build a solid foundation, even 20 years would not be too much. It had nothing to do with the comprehensive ability, and it did not have to do with the talent either. It was a process of grinding an iron bar into a needle, and it was the accumulation of the foundation. Fortunately, with the time tower, Yi Chen could reduce the time by 100 folds. 20 years could be reduced to 2 or 3 months. Of course, this was only him. There was still a gap between people. Yi Chen was naturally limited in true spirit world. The reason why he could catch up was because his foundation was rising too quickly. He was accumulating every day, and every day was a new self. Others couldn't do the same. Time passed quickly, and the second hunt ended. The harvest of this hunt wasn't as big as the first one. After all, it was impossible to annihilate the enemy paradise teams every time. Sometimes luck was needed. However, it wasn't too bad either. The total income from the second hunt was 7,000 divine coins, and Yi Chen got a little more than half of it, which was 3,800 divine coins. In the third hunt, the Flying Spirit Battle Team created another miracle, annihilating another Demon Paradise Battle Team, the Sea Demon Battle Team. Their total earnings were even higher than the first hunt, reaching 24,000 Shinbi. Yi Chen received a total of 17,000 Shinbi. In total, Yi Chen had earned close to 40,000 Shinbi in the hunting battlefield, and he had only conducted 3 hunts. Of course, no matter how much Shinbi he had, it was all moonlight to Yi Chen. The Tower of Time consumed too much divine coins. It was like a bottomless pit. On the second floor of the Tower of Time, a middle-level member would earn 350 divine coins a day, or 10,500 divine coins a month. Therefore, each time Yi Chen made a reward, he could only stay on the second floor for about 1 month. Yi Chen, thank you for choosing to join the Flying Spirit Battle Team. Thank you. Huang Hengfei sighed with emotions. He really hoped that Yi Chen could stay in the Flying Spirit Battle Team. With Yi Chen's help, the total earnings of the Flying Spirit Battle Team were more than 50,000. It was unimaginable. It should be noted that it was already not bad for a beginner team to earn 2,000 divine coins in 1 hunt and 6,000 divine coins in 3 hunts. However, as a middle-level member, Yi Chen had to go to the intermediate hunting ground. Of course, Huang Hengfei also sincerely wished Yi Chen to stay in the Flying Spirit Battle Team. If he stayed in the Flying Spirit Battle Team, he would only be a burden to Yi Chen. Yi Chen had a broader stage and could earn more divine coins. The Flying Spirit Battle Team was just his starting point, not his destination. Without you, I couldn't do it alone. You don't have to thank me. Yi Chen shook his head and continued, Ling Fifan is not much weaker than me. With him, the Flying Spirit Battle Team will dominate the beginner hunting ground one day. Ling Fifan had reached the 5th level of the God of War Pagoda a month ago. With Yi Chen's help, Ling Fifan had joined the Flying Spirit Battle Team to make up for the lack of members. In Yi Chen's opinion, Ling Fifan was indeed very strong and had great potential. Perhaps he was not good at the spatial profound meaning and could not help the Flying Spirit Battle Team earn a lot of divine coins. His current strength was not very strong either. However, as time passed and the divine coins increased, Ling Fifan would definitely improve greatly. Haha, of course we believe in Ling Fifan. He is also a rare genius in the Paradise of Gods. The addition of Ling Fifan made Huang Hengfei and the others very happy. It more or less made up for some of their regret. On a small path in the Paradise of Gods, Ling Fifan was walking alone. Before joining the Flying Spirit Battle Team, he had considered many things, but in the end, he still agreed. He was not afraid to compare himself with Yi Chen. A sabersman could lose, but he must never be afraid. Because a sabersman was a brave man, and a brave man had no fear. Paradise of Gods Hotel. Welcome to the Frost Battle Team. Huang Fuyu reached out and shook hands with Yi Chen. It's my honor. Yi Chen sized up Huang Fuyu and the others and said slowly, Did we lose one person? The full number of mid-level battle teams was 6 people. Now, the Frost Battle Team only had 4 people. Of course, including Yi Chen, it was 5 again. The vice-captain of the Frost Battle Team, Ho Lei, said in a low voice, There are many strong teams in the mid-level hunting ground. Except for a few teams, no team can guarantee that they can escape unscathed. In the last hunt, we encountered the Demon Beast Battle Team. Because we were outnumbered, they killed 2 of us. Of course, we also killed one of them. The Demon Beast Battle Team was one of the mid-level teams in the Paradise of Gods. They were all made up of demon beasts. Yi Chen, I heard that you reached the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda? Su Xiao, the member of the Frost Battle Team, asked curiously. Yi Chen nodded. After the first hunt, he had reached the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda. However, he was still some distance from the 8th level. The higher the level of the God of War Pagoda, the more difficult it was. Yi Chen passed the 6th level in an instant, but the 7th level was almost 10 times more difficult. It would be a little difficult to pass in a short period of time. That's amazing. I have been in the Paradise of Gods for almost 100 years, but I'm still stuck on the 7th level. After receiving Yi Chen's reply, Su Xiao was very impressed. She had never seen anyone improve so quickly. It had been less than 2 years, and Yi Chen had actually reached the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda. I was a little lucky. Yi Chen was not being humble. He could improve so quickly thanks to the profound meaning of space. Without it, his results would not be so brilliant. Luck is also a part of one's strength. I heard that in the elementary hunting grounds, the Flying Spirit Battle Team is feared by many teams. I think it's true. Huang Fuyu was glad that he had booked Yi Chen in advance. Although there were not as many teams in the elementary hunting grounds as there were in the intermediate hunting grounds, there were still quite a few. The Flying Spirit Battle Team could at most be ranked in the top 15. However, Yi Chen had actually made the Flying Spirit Battle Team one of the kings of the elementary hunting ground. In 3 hunts, he had wiped out 2 enemy teams and killed 3 people at once. This kind of result could no longer be described as excellent. It was glorious. Come, let's wish our first hunt a success. Huang Fuyu raised his wine glass. I hope I can earn enough shinbi from this hunt. In 1.5 months, Yi Chen had spent all his shinbi. It could be said that he had earned a lot and spent a lot. In his opinion, the Time Pagoda was really not a place that ordinary people could enter, especially the 2nd level. Therefore, Yi Chen could only pin his hope on the intermediate hunting grounds. In the intermediate hunting grounds, killing 1 enemy would be worth 1,000 shinbi. In the team hunting, killing 1 enemy would be worth 12,000 shinbi. If the enemy team was wiped out, it would be 288,000 shinbi. Of course, this was basically impossible. The stronger the enemy was, the harder it was to kill them. Even if they couldn't defeat the enemy, they could still escape. On average, only 1 team would be wiped out in the intermediate hunting grounds every 5 years. Yi Chen's strength was just ordinary in the Frost Battle Team. He couldn't even compare to Huang Fuyu and Ho Lei. Naturally, he couldn't help them wipe out the enemy team. However, even killing 2 or 3 enemies was already a great harvest. In addition to the competition between teams, the harvest of killing mythical insects in the intermediate hunting grounds was also considerable. 1 mythical insect was worth 200 shinbi. Time passed quickly. The Frost Battle Team that Yi Chen was in entered the hunting tower. Their number had increased to 6. They were well prepared. 7 days later, the 6 of them walked out of the hunting tower unscathed. This time, the Magical Beast Battle Team finally paid a price. Yi Chen, it's all thanks to your space stop ability. Otherwise, we would have lost 1 or 2 people, and we wouldn't have been able to get so many shinbi. The 6 of them were in a good mood. Although they couldn't wipe out the entire magical beast battle team, they had killed 3 of their members. This was unimaginable. Although Yi Chen's power was only at the 7th level of the God of War Pagoda and was not as powerful as the team leader Huang Fuyu and the deputy leader Ho Lei, he was extremely useful to the team. He had actually surpassed the team leader Huang Fuyu. His instant sword realm could help the others kill their opponents quickly. He was an all-rounder. Ho Lei and Su Zhao's doubts were also dispelled. Before this, they had actually been worried that Yi Chen wouldn't be able to adapt to the harsh environment of the intermediate hunting grounds. However, they had worried too much. Yi Chen smiled and didn't say anything. In this hunt, he was still in first place with 20 points. Huang Fuyu was 15 points, Ho Lei was 13 points, and the other 3 added up to 12 points. His total contribution was 60 points. As for the total contribution this time, they had earned 72,600 Shinbi. Killing 3 enemies was 36,000 Shinbi, killing 150 divine worms was 30,000 Shinbi, and adding 10% of the team's reward, it was 72,600 Shinbi. According to the contribution distribution, Yi Chen had earned 24,200 Shinbi. It seemed to be only 30% to 40% more than in the elementary hunting ground. However, in the elementary hunting grounds, Yi Chen couldn't wipe out all the enemy teams every time. For example, in the second hunt with the Flying Spirit Battle Team, he had only earned 7,000 Shinbi. The intermediate hunting grounds were much more stable. Perhaps luck had played a part this time, but no matter how bad his luck was, he should have earned at least 5,000 Shinbi. This was because Yi Chen's instant sword domain was the nemesis of the divine worms. He could use the divine worms as his biggest source of income. It was even more beneficial than killing enemies. If it weren't for Yi Chen, the total income was estimated to be 20,000 Shinbi at most. In the hunting grounds, few teams would tangle with divine worms.